Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest WWE edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are less than 2 weeks away from WWE WrestleMania 42. Yet the road is as convoluted and bumpy as ever. Vintage Chris Vanini will be along momentarily. Off the top, we are seriously not wasting any time here. Allow the Silver King to remind you, the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King and Vintage. Leave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you take a little extra time and leave a written review on Apple, we're going to read it live right here on the show. Also, please follow us on social media and YouTube at Getting Overcast. You find out when episodes are dropped. You can listen to them. You get highlights. You can ask us questions, send in comments. Follow us wherever you can at Getting Overcast. Vintage, we normally, banter about here at the start of the show. And frankly, I'm in Augusta, Georgia here covering the Masters. It's an incredible place for me to be. And yet, the last 5 days, I've been just riddled with anger. And I don't want to use the word anxiety, disappointment at what WWE, particularly on SmackDown, is giving us on this road to WrestleMania. SmackDown was somehow better and worse than last week. But the worst part was crazy bad. Raw was not perfect by any means, but in terms of a building block show for WrestleMania, it was tough to ask for much more from a hype standpoint when it's not the go-home show. But you know what's crazy? A couple weeks ago, I was explaining on this very program how the road to WrestleMania was not going anywhere near as poorly as others were suggesting. I had conviction in that take, and I felt like it was backed up by facts, not only about this year's build, but WrestleManias of the past being far weaker than people remember. I still believe, as of 2 weeks ago, I was spot on with that take. It's almost as if the SmackDown creative team heard that and said, oh yeah? Hold our beer, Silver King. Watch what we can do. I certainly remember WrestleMania builds being underdone or disappointing. I cannot remember one tentpole match like Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton consistently getting worse as the big show draws closer. It feels like SmackDown has been bad on purpose the last 2 weeks. That's the first half of our extended main event coming up in a moment, so I'll put a pin in it for now. But just as a way to kind of get us into the show, I could not believe what I saw on Friday night, and it was a reminder to me of how much it sucks sometimes that we only do one WWE show per week, because as I said, my blood has been boiling for 5 days, as opposed to 24 hours if we taped this episode on Saturday.
Yeah, I debated texting you Friday about doing an emergency episode.
Same.
Which we've sometimes done.
I legitimately thought about
WrestleMania. But because the women's Final Four was going on, and I knew you had to get to Augusta, at some point, I was like, maybe not a good time for that. But my feelings are different a few days later. And yes, we have a lot to talk about. This one major thing everybody wants to talk about, and we will get into that.
I truly prefer doing emergency podcasts when it's positive. Like when we did the WrestleMania 40 kickoff one, and it was just so incredible, and we were going nuts about it. That's fun. I don't want to be mad on this program. We didn't start this podcast to complain about professional wrestling and WWE. And I believe through 5 years of this thing existing, maybe it's longer than that even at this point, we've been extremely even-handed. We tell you things are great when they're great. We tell you they suck when they suck. And we try to parse the difference between the two where, opinions are mixed and we take decisive sides one way or another. Friday night, I don't know that there's more than one side. In fact, there's not more than one side. And you might have enjoyed individual elements of it. And maybe you could convince me, not you, Chris, but like a listener or someone who's a fan, maybe you could convince me individual elements of it were somehow enjoyable to you because of certain preferences you might have. But in totality, and this is what I said a moment ago, I have never seen a singular storyline for WrestleMania mucked up as much as this without an injury or an absence or something befalling one of the competitors in the match. So that was the prelude. Let's not waste
let's get
any
into
time.
Let's get right into it.
So much. I hate every single week. We have a ton to discuss on this episode of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast.
No.
We have a ton to discuss on this episode of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. And we're going to kick it off, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
It is rare that we begin this segment discussing something other than what happened on either Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown directly. This week, though, before we even cover the Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton booking and the Pat McAfee of it all, there's an overriding issue that needs to be covered, and that is the involvement of TKO, Ari Emanuel, Dwayne Johnson, Vince McMahon years ago, altering Paul Levesque's plans on the road to WrestleMania. Now, let me be clear, I am not reporting anything here. However, out of the muck-filled wrestling media, there are some people we trust, and they have reported to a person that TKO and or Ari Emanuel, McAfee's former agent, who wants to turn this guy into Sylvester Stallone, apparently, except McAfee has absolutely zero talent outside of the sports talk realm, was directly responsible for inserting McAfee into WrestleMania and this feud specifically. That does not change the horrendous creative, even if they had a hand in that as well, which we don't know. But it does crystallize something I have been saying for a long time. Since taking over creative, Levesque has led 4 WrestleManias, 39, 40, 41, and 42. All 4 of them have been fucked with by people above him in the WWE or TKO structure. For 39, it was Vince McMahon changing the winner of Edge against the Demon Finn Balor and pushing off Cody Rhodes' WWE Championship win. The former killed Balor and the Demon character. The latter was a positive decision in retrospect, but only after Levesque had to overcome Dwayne Johnson stepping in 9 months later and trying to derail the WrestleMania main event by inserting himself into it against his cousin Roman Reigns. Again, this after Rhodes title win was already delayed a year. That bred We Want Cody and the incredible 2-night WrestleMania main event. But it all started with The Rock shoving his nose where it didn't belong, altering creative, and creating backlash from fans that was not anticipated. For 41, not only was Johnson back supposedly taking the temperature of a Rhodes heel turn, then involving himself in John Cena's heel turn, TKO and The Rock inserted Travis Scott into the situation, and we all remember how that turned out. And now all of this is convoluting what was a slam dunk Cody Randy story with Matt Cardona, Jelly Roll, Stephanie McMahon, and McAfee. There are plenty of legitimate reasons to criticize Triple H and his creative team. We do it on this show all the time. The entirety of SmackDown has been horrendous for months, but that cannot be done without reasonably remembering, one, he's had to pivot so many times due to unplanned injuries and absences, especially the last 2 years. 2, some higher power, his bosses, have been involved in altering 4 straight WrestleMania main events, every single show under his tenure. How the hell is someone supposed to do their job effectively when they're told they need to shove Travis Scott and Pat McAfee into storylines where they don't belong, told they need to cancel the triumphant championship win being built for 2 years for Cody on a whim? They can't. So again, criticize Triple H all you want, but do it fairly, because what has happened to him in this role and what we as viewers have had to put up with every February through April is patently unfair, and it is hurting this product. These guys need to stay in their fucking lanes, stop micromanaging a creative process they know nothing about, and focus more on not shoving 100 special events into a 2-month span while charging $1,500 for lower level tickets, so people have to stare at 2 wrestlers amid 25 advertisements at a given time.
You know, the renaissance of WWE over the last several years, I would say more than any one thing, is due to Triple H's booking.
Absolutely.
It is directly correlated to right before that SummerSlam in Nashville a couple of years ago, whatever year that was, when he took over. And from then on, everything got so much better. And again, for all the people who complain about the Triple H booking, remember what it used to be like and how bad it used to be.
Remember 2019 with dog food and Roman Reigns buck teeth running around and all that bullshit. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and in light of, I think it was on Tuesday, there was a new court documents from the shareholder lawsuit over the TKO merger that have Triple H texts with Nick Khan and him being frustrated with creative changes that are being forced upon with Vince doing various things. So like, it's a very real thing. And as specific to the McAfee and the manual of it all, we'll get to that in a second. But yes, it is bizarre that this keeps happening in such a weird way. And the way WWE is handling this one is in a very different way, which has me, I don't know, feeling a little, I don't know how I feel about it, frankly. And we'll talk about that in the specific. But leading off with, yes, this keeps happening. And it's usually not Triple H's fault.
As they say, those who don't study history are condemned to repeat it. And that is literally what is happening every single February, March, and April. You mentioned that SummerSlam in 2022. He convinced Io Sky to stay with the company when she was going to leave, started Damage Control. He had Liv Morgan pin Ronda Rousey, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar with the tractor situation. Bianca Belair finally got her win over Becky Lynch, atoning for what happened upon Becky's return. Like, so much happened here. And it was a great show, and it told us where WWE was headed, and he built on that, and he built on that, and the product was really good. And again, as I've said, he has made a ton of mistakes creatively. There's no question. You know why? Because no booker is perfect. I love to think that I am when we go through this show and I tell you how I would do things. I'm not 100% correct. Maybe some of what I suggest would be terrible. It's just what I would want. And we try not to judge based on what we want. We try to judge based on what is good, what is bad, and, frankly, for the name of our segment, what is ugly as well. But you cannot tell me that the last few years, okay, if you want to say 39 and 40, 39 was Vince and 40 was a lesson that needed to be learned and they made the absolute best of it, fine, I'll give you those. 41 was off the rails, and it's happening again 42. Lessons were not learned. That is the problem with everything that's happening. And we are the ones, the fans, the viewers, the critics that are suffering for it because we just want to be entertained. and we want it to make sense. So we don't want season, I don't know how many seasons Game of Thrones was. We don't want season 6 of Game of Thrones, 8 of Game of Thrones. We want 1 through 7. And we know we can get 1 through 7. If we have the actual writer doing it, not a person inserting themselves into the writer's role and finishing what they were trying to do differently.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about you want to talk about the McAfee stuff?
Yeah. I needed to kind of get that out of the way, man.
Yeah.
And also, and I told you this offline before we, started the show. I don't normally say this. There's episodes where Silver King goes on a rant and then it's 15 minutes before Vintage says a word. I want to make sure you speak on this episode, but I promise you,
yes,
the fire is coming. Okay, I want
to let you cook when we get to that.
Silver King's going to cook. All right, let's get to SmackDown. Following an extremely well done video package on the Cody Stephanie segment from last week's Raw, tons of spliced in footage of Steph eating RKOs, Randy Orton opened SmackDown to a massive ovation in his home of St. Louis. The show finally started 8 minutes into the hour. Orton managed to get a couple jeers asking, what do you want to talk about, before looking at his watch. He started positively speaking about St. Louis before saying he wasn't doing it for the fans, but himself and his real home, his family sitting in the front row. Just mentioning Cody's name got booed, and Randy reminded that Rhodes gave him the excuse he needed to listen to the voices, and Cody knows the voices in his head and Steph are all telling him that he's not capable of beating this version of Orton because he's not a killer. Brief pause here. This was the second week in a row where Randy was on the verge of saying something heelish. I'm not fighting for you. This is not my real home. Only for it to not be a bad guy line. He turned it into fighting for himself, his legacy, and his family. No one's going to boo that. And obviously, we need to remind that this show was in St. Louis. So what we're talking about and what we're going to discuss was all done in front of the friendliest possible crowd toward Orton. It was a solid promo from Randy, but again, confusing because despite all of the obvious indicators that WWE wants to go all in with him being heel, Chris, this was another half-measure promo from Orton, not going all the way and still allowing people to cheer for him.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. Again, I was like, just crap on your hometown. Like, get the booze. What are you doing?
Right.
Like every week it was weird. It was not set up in a way to make people boo Orton, and I don't know why they haven't been doing that.
So Cody answered in a 3-piece suit, removing the jacket and tie and getting straight up booed the entire time, both while entering and beating Randy down in the corner. Not even a huge pop at the start for Cody. Then, out of nowhere, Pat McAfee shows up wearing all black with an RKO Everybody shirt, wearing sunglasses too, so you know he's a heel. Looked like an idiot. Punting Rhodes square in the nuts before a mini beatdown that included Orton using a chair a few times. McAfee started by trying to get heat talking about St. Louis sports teams.
Well, they're really bad guys now because they cut down the city's sports team. That's what you do when you're a bad guy.
That did get booed. He recalled his recent interview where he said WWE had passed him by, explaining that the truth is he thinks the product is absolute shit. McAfee said Orton told him the industry is just going in a direction nobody wants, especially those who were Attitude Era fans. McAfee's claim was that fans who helped WWE peak have been forgotten, and now all he sees are 5'5" guys doing 45-minute Iron Man matches 10 weeks straight for no rhyme or reason when Orton should be the one featured on every show. I realize this is, again, a strange place to pause, but there is so much to say about this segment and storyline, I gotta break in here. Let's not cover McAfee's presence yet, but specifically what he said to this point. In what fucking world is he or the creative team living in where McAfee and what he said makes a shred of sense? Where are these 5'5" guys? Where are these 45-minute Iron Man matches? Where are these rematches for 10 weeks straight without storyline? They don't exist. The latter used to under Vince McMahon. They don't in 2026. It legitimately felt to me like he was cutting a promo complaining about the AEW product, but claiming it was the WWE product. That's where smaller guys wrestle longer matches with no storyline. Did Marvel seep into WWE and McAfee is from one of those multiverses where everything is the opposite of reality? Beyond that, why are you doing a WWE suck storyline in 2026 when the business is making more money than ever? SmackDown TV ratings are significantly up over the last few weeks, and you're approaching your biggest show of the entire year. Why are you telling people, you know, this product you're watching right now, it sucks, yet not even existing in reality for the reasons you're giving that it sucks? Why are you nonsensically referring to the Attitude Era when Randy Orton is a ruthless aggression era star?
The way you are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Are you freaking kidding me?
Already at this point, Chris, I felt like I was losing my mind.
So, like, it didn't make any sense for all the reasons that you said. Like, I thought about this. When Chris Jericho debuted, his famous debut in WWE, he talks about how the WWF has crashed and it's terrible, and he's here to save it from low ratings and stuff like that. But that was like said as an ironic heel because WWE was shooting past WCW at that time. And even if you think the last year of WWE is not but good, it's still, you look at the charts, it's still light years ahead of what it was pre-COVID.
And even objectively, it is far better than the product was in 2018 and 2019. Way better.
Yeah. So, like, but you also say, like, we have to go back to the Attitude Era, which is a thing that will get cheered by the fans. Because you know what the theme of WWE 2K26 is? Go back to the Attitude Era.
Right.
So, like, I don't understand. It was
nonsensical.
There wasn't a real through line of what like they're not doing the 5'5" guys and stuff like that. And McAfee says afterward in the car, he's talking about the IWC and all these things. It's like, no, the IWC wants to go back to the Attitude Era normally. Like, are you
not
against
really
that? It depends what part you're in, I guess.
Sure.
It didn't make any sense in kayfabe. Why would Randy Orton care what Pat McAfee thinks? What did this have anything to do with the royal family line that Randy had said? It didn't come back up. What kind of, they've never had a relationship before. My one, like, it was just strange. And like, even the way it happened, he comes out in an RKO shirt. So like, we're not like about to be surprised. He's got the shirt tucked in with a big belt buckle. He looks weird. It was just, he just crawls into the ring. It's not like it was in plain view of the camera. Everything about what he said made sense. And I have some other thoughts about saying the show sucks, but I'll save that for later.
To clarify, everything he said didn't make sense is what you meant, correct?
Yes, correct.
McAfee continued, saying he hates how he turns on Netflix and sees everyone in gorilla position circle jerking themselves, presumably referring to Unreal, which, you know what? Fair enough. One good line. Then he complained that tickets to WrestleMania were still available and SmackDown was fresh off the worst rated episode of all time with a puppet as a champion, a guy who represents everything they hate. Orton then meekly choked Rhodes over the middle rope and put his knee on his neck. McAfee confirmed he was the one on the phone telling Orton to, quote, kill everything, because this is the business that Cody is leading and Randy is going to, quote, save the fucking business. Fans chanted for Randy as the supposed heels walked to the back through Gorilla. Then they booed Cody. McAfee and Orton got into the same pickup truck and Pat did all of the talking. So not only did McAfee say the product sucks, he pointed out that WrestleMania ticket sales are down and then cited cage match, not TV ratings.
Yeah.
Cage match, not TV ratings, but cage match for last week's show being terrible. What the fuck was this bullshit? I was absolutely flabbergasted when this ended. Could not believe what I was seeing and hearing. I could almost see the creative team eating their own shit, thinking they had made chocolate mousse putting this together, believing the vibes would be just like D-Generation X or NWO or something like that. Except it was at the absolute best, the poorest facsimile one could create using a third-party talent whose popularity anywhere outside of the sports realm remains immensely overstated and grossly overestimated. Pat McAfee doesn't move tickets outside of Indianapolis, and it is impossible to buy him as some tough guy in a Scott Hall role who is speaking truth to power. He's complaining about Cody being a prop for corporations while literally existing in WWE as the paradigm of someone being shoved down the audience's fucking throats. It is amazing how, despite involvement of Cardona, Jelly Roll, and Stephanie McMahon, that McAfee was the tipping point that severely lowered the quality and value of this feud. Who is this for exactly? WWE fans were okay with McAfee on commentary for a bit, and then he jumped the shark. They have been soured on celebrity involvement on the back of Travis Scott and Jelly at SummerSlam, even if Jelly exceeded expectations. But remember, he was already involved in this feud too. You want McAfee involved in something at WrestleMania? Okay, fine, not the main event, not something that doesn't need him and cannot be enhanced by him. This is a disservice to every single person around WWE, on screen, off, and watching through the television. There's really one word to describe this booking. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton is a slam dunk feud. It has been turned into a missed finger roll off the rim. I promise no more sports metaphors. WWE needed to pivot its main event and made a hugely positive decision with Orton winning Elimination Chamber. Yet, everything has been rapidly sliding downhill since the Concerto a couple weeks ago. This was one of the easiest stories WWE has ever had fall into its lap for a WrestleMania main event. Fans have been waiting 2 years for Cody and Randy to dig into 2 decades of their history. You could go student versus teacher, ruthless aggression versus new era, legend killer versus burgeoning legend, friends having one another's backs through tough times, only for Orton to bury all of that goodwill out of jealousy and greed. Randy punting Cody's deceased father's head off his body 19 years ago. Seriously, this was a no-lose situation. WWE could pick its poison and roll down the road to the biggest show of the year. Instead, WWE literally chose poison. This is what you are booking for Rhodes versus Orton at WrestleMania? Cardona, Jelly Roll, Stephanie, and McAfee? Why? Seriously, why did they not believe Cody, a 3-time Mania main eventer, and Randy, a 15-time world champion, could carry this? Are they so concerned about Rhodes getting booed that they went to these extreme lengths trying to flip the sentiment? If so, why the hell are you running this segment in St. Louis, of all places? I said from the second Orton won an Elimination Chamber how it would be nearly impossible for WWE to get him booed. How can I know that and they do not? People on the creative team, Levesque, and anyone above him potentially middling in the booking, they are paid to do these jobs. Even if McAfee was shoved into this without their approval, I cannot imagine that this was the best idea available. No one had something smoother or sleeker. Could you imagine, Chris, us writing or editing content this poorly at our workplaces? We'd be in the street on our asses. In what world is a McAfee appearance considered delivering on a surprise reveal of an anonymous caller? Why are McAfee and Jelly Roll giving advice to legends on the road to WrestleMania? Why is McAfee speaking for 5 minutes straight 3 SmackDowns out from the Showcase of the Immortals? Why does Orton, who destroyed Rhodes on his own a couple weeks ago, need McAfee to get physically involved? Why are you putting your full force and effort behind getting Orton booed in his hometown where they are not going to reject it? Who are you trying to appeal to with this storyline exactly? Who is your intended audience that you are trying to reach? Your fan base has completely changed over the last 5 years. Lapsed fans are not returning. They either did during 39 and 40 or they are long gone. Why are you mentioning ticket sales and cage match ratings and doing insider smart shit on WWE TV? How is Cody killing the business if WWE has done better business than ever, both with him as champion and chasing? WWE in 2026 is not going back to the Attitude Era, and neither is this feud. Fans do not care about McAfee being involved, just like they didn't care about Jelly. They chanted for Orton every time that they had the opportunity, with only brief boos for McAfee at the start because of what he was saying. They were silent toward the end, and then they went back to chanting for Randy as they left, thinking they were hot shit. All of this, what? In an obvious attempt to put the full weight of creative trying to keep Cody babyface? If that is legitimately the idea, they have done far more harm than good with this booking. They could have let Rhodes get 50-50 reactions all the way to WrestleMania, get booed in the big match, lose the title, and then easily salvaged him on the back end. Instead, now you have fans cheering Randy and booing Cody when you want them doing the opposite, and McAfee is injected into this for no reason. This is the worst WrestleMania main event booking I can remember, and one of the worst creative decisions WWE has put forward in a long time. I can even legitimately argue it's worse than Cody and John Cena last year, because while that build was far from great, the truly poor part of it was what happened at WrestleMania with Travis Scott. We were still super hyped to see them fight in that spot, despite some lackluster lead-ins. Meanwhile, this story was salvageable after last week's jelly roll-filled shitfest, yet they somehow made it worse. I hate to say it, but even if there is some monster surprise swerve ahead, Chris, WWE has completely lost the plot on this storyline. Completely.
Well said.
Did you just nice speech me? Did you just nice speech me after that?
No, I said well said. Well said.
I know.
Well said.
I'm heated, bro. Give me a break.
Fine speech. Fine
sorry.
speech.
Fine. I even botched the reference. Great.
So I'll say this. McAfee is a really good promo. Like, it's nonsense, but he delivered it well. And this WrestleMania is on ESPN for the first time ever. There was going to be ESPN synergies, crossovers, whatever. Frankly, I'm surprised we haven't seen Stephen A. Smith on the show yet, frankly, to be honest. And
yet
you want to tell me you want to get McAfee on the show because Ari Emanuel represents him and because he's ESPN? Like, that's okay. Like, that's fine. He's been on the show before. You can do a weird segment with him, have him host it. I don't know. You can do stuff. It was just totally unnecessary to throw him into a main event that had a natural story that they were in the process of telling. And telling fans the show sucks is a dangerous path that is really hard to get out of, because then they think about that all the time. I haven't watched much of McAfee this week on his show. Is he on his show telling his viewers that WWE sucks? Is that the pitch to get them to watch?
I wish I could.
McAfee.
I wish I could answer you. I'm sorry to interrupt. I haven't watched it either, and maybe we will watch it and we'll talk about it Thursday on our next show. But I couldn't even stomach watching his show to see what he had to say.
That's where the story of it all makes no sense. McAfee thinks WWE sucks. Me, as someone who used to watch wrestling in the past but likes McAfee's show, that's not going to make me want to watch it. Like, what is even that story? Like, at least iShow Speed is out here, enjoying himself and trying to get people to watch.
Right.
I don't understand what that even is. Like, and that's why for it to be shoehorned so late in the process for no reason, like, you could have done something with McAfee that would make sense, and you get it all over ESPN, and you do all that stuff, and we put up with it. Because, like, look, you're going to do that. That's okay. It's just so ham-handedly, whatever the phrase is, like, forced into this in a way that doesn't add to anything at all. And you're out here telling me the tickets aren't selling? Again, that's not making me excited for the show. In that sense, like, you don't want the internet fans who only ever talk about these things. And I have another take on this part, which we'll get into when Cody and Punk and these people talk about it too. But like, you could have done something with McAfee that made sense. This makes no sense. He's just crapping on things. It's what I said before with the Tom Brady, Logan Paul stuff. It's like, that's a celebrity who's crapping on pro wrestling. You don't want to really be involved in that. You want the Jelly Rolls and the Bad Bunnies and the Logan Pauls who are there to tell you actually wrestling is great. And we know Pat McAfee's playing a character here. I know. But I just don't understand what this adds. Like, it literally adds nothing. No one's going to buy tickets for this.
There was no chance that McAfee was a value add to this feud. But if he had come out and said, Cody, you're a bitch puppet champion, Randy Orton's a killer, and I reminded him of that. If that was all he said, we still don't like it, but we're evaluating it much differently than him coming out saying ticket sales suck, SmackDown ratings are down because of cage match, and the Attitude Era should come back.
Frankly, like, do we think Stephen A. Smith comes out next week and is on Cody's side? Are we going to have McAfee and Stephen A. Smith in a corner and it's an ESPN main event? You
bringing that up, my blood is boiling at even the thought of something like that happening.
Here's the thing, though.
I mean, you thought I was hot earlier?
Here's the thing, though. It's already bad.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
would that actually make it so bad
that it's good?
It's good.
No, but you might as well Thelma and Louise it at this point. Hold hands, get Stephen A. Smith in there, go off the cliff, tank these guys' careers, tank night one. I mean, that's where they're headed. That's where this shit is headed right now.
Because if it's just this, it's strange. And this is like, we thought going in, Randy will win or could win or should win. It's the second year in a row we have someone winning the title and talking about hating wrestling, as John Cena did last year. It's gonna be weird.
A legend who is winning his, in this case, 15th championship, and Cody losing consecutive WrestleMania main events to these legends who are stacking numbers against him. And what? He holds it until SummerSlam, loses it to Cody, and then Cody carries it again to WrestleMania. Like, is that really the plan? Let's not get ahead of ourselves and shit on stuff that hasn't happened yet. There's more that still went down on SmackDown.
Also, one other thing, by the way, both of them wearing RKO Everybody St. Louis shirts. They're doing the city-specific shirts with this.
They're shilling out. Yeah.
Which again is shilling out, and also a face thing to do.
Yeah.
It's not a heel thing.
Of course. The baby faces are supposed to wear that, or like Brock Lesnar when he did his Suplex City, but people were cheering him then. You know what I mean? So You're right. It's a baby face shirt. There's no question about that. Although there was Cody's blood on it. So after the unplanned WWE Tag Team Championship match that we will discuss later, Cody stormed to the ring, immediately hit Crossroads on Kit Wilson, which understandably got him booed because fans love Kit Wilson, and grabbed the mic absolutely infuriated. He got booed during and after hitting that move, white hot that McAfee was the person in Orton's ear, saying that reveal is akin to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash unveiling Disco Inferno as the third man in the NWO instead of Hulk Hogan. Great line, personal bent on there, probably lost on most of the younger audience, but that goes back to what I was saying before. Then Cody went even deeper.
Pat, you stoner, grifter, Logan Paul without muscles, human hat rack, fly by night, you're gonna get your receipt, and boy, I felt it, and I should have. You're a former NFL punter, but Pat, you and everyone who represents you, and I know who I'm talking to, can kiss my ass. Oh no! Is that too far? What are you gonna do? Fire me? It sure worked out for you the last time.
Pretty funny insult to say someone is a lesser Logan Paul. That's an even worse burn than intended. As a means of explanation, when Rhodes mentioned those who represent McAfee, he was referring to Ari Emanuel, Pat's former agent, who is the CEO of Endeavor and TKO. He's who Ari Gold was based off in Entourage. The sure worked out for you last time line about not being able to control Cody because they cannot fire him. That was fire, yet similarly not received as well as one would expect. Rhodes said Orton can claim it's not personal if he wants, but it is personal. And people like Stephanie can tell him that he needs to go to a dark place and become a bad guy. But he's so deep into being a good guy with 2 kids, a loving family, and his dream job that he doesn't know how anymore. Still white hot. Cody then put himself over as the A side at WrestleMania the last 3 years. He said, "It is this simple. It's a wrestling match with 20 years of history between two of the best to ever do it."
Thank you.
Rhodes said he's finally hearing the voices in his head, but Orton doesn't want to hear what they have to say. Let me get this out of the way. I saw people speculating whether this was a live pivot. Levesque sent him out there to cut this promo. It wasn't part of the show's script. Given how long he spoke and how specific he was with what he said and how it related both to the opening segment prior weeks and even some of the criticisms I just uttered about this being a slam dunk storyline that has gotten convoluted, WWE would have needed to cut a full segment from the show, and Cody would have to be one of the top 2 to 3 promo givers of all time in order to execute this in that manner. The reason to leave it off the script is so it doesn't get spoiled that Cody is coming back out, leading people to wonder ahead of time, why is he there twice after a simple segment starts off the show? So no, I don't believe this was planned. Was it great? Yeah, it was. Rhodes is effing amazing on the mic. When he's pissed off and angry, whether real or kayfabe, the dude is electric with the stick in his hand. It's kind of unbelievable. However, as great as this was, it neither saved the night based on the prior segment, nor atoned for the decisions to involve Cardona, Jelly, and now heavily feature McAfee. It felt like too little too late, but it was undoubtedly the best Cody could have done in this situation. But that still begs the question, why is WWE telling meta storylines and doing work shoot promos to this degree on the road to WrestleMania, specifically in a feud that does not need it? The work shoot, it worked for Kofi Mania. It made sense for Kofi Mania. It does not make any sense for Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton.
This is actually my biggest problem as I thought about it more over the weekend. And it's not Cody. Cody did as well as he possibly could here. If you are a 12-year-old kid watching on TV or you're in the crowd, if you're a lapsed fan who's brought your kids to the show or something, and Cody says something like, "Everyone who represents you can kiss my ass," you have any idea what he's talking about? No. When he says Pat McAfee tags sites who only exist because WWE is hot, you have any idea what he's talking about? No, because you may not be on Twitter to see that Pat McAfee posted something tagging Fightful and a bunch of other people. You have no idea what he's talking about. And so it goes back to the question, which is what you said earlier. Who is this for? Do you have to know the dirt sheets and what they're saying to understand this main event all of a sudden? What is that? That is the most AEW thing WWE has done in a very long time. What is that? Who is that for? What is it? How many people know who Disco Inferno is? Like, it felt everything about that in the meta-ness of this all feels like it's designed for the AEW audience who might actually pop for stuff like that. That's not the WWE crowd.
Sorry to interrupt you, even they have been worn down. MJF does this stuff all the time, and it doesn't hit for them anymore. You know what people want in wrestling, Chris? Kayfabe. They want made-up stories that they can latch onto and get really emotionally invested in. They don't want you playing to smart marks. Let the smart marks be smart. Let them overthink things and tell you why it's shitty. If your core audience is happy, that's what's important. And the core audience would have been thrilled getting Cody and Randy 20 years in the making with all of that build and all of those potential storylines I talked about earlier, and they're just not doing any of them.
How many people really of the average WWE fan, how many of them really know that ticket sales are down? How many of them really know about the rating or the TV? It wasn't even the TV rating.
The cage match rating.
Whatever, like the cage match rating.
I feel like Allen Iverson. I feel like Allen Iverson talking about practice. Cage match? Cage match?
Why is this being thrown into a main event feud with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton? And like, I'll save one last part for when we get to the CM Punk of it all, because he gets into it too. But it's like, I don't understand the purpose of this at all. Like, if you want to get people online talking, you go get Logan Paul and I Show Speed, the people who have audiences and that kind of stuff. Like, have Randy with Pat McAfee.
Have Randy Orton on Pat McAfee show doing an interview where they start pontificating about some of this stuff, and it creates fervor in the wrestling ecosphere that these fans, these online fans can talk about, and then keep it off television, or air a couple clips that are appropriate to advance the story on television, but you don't give all of it necessarily. There are so many other ways this could have been achieved.
The Attitude Era didn't make the Click an actual storyline. Like, they would make references to it in promos or this or that, but it wasn't the storyline.
It was not.
Have now, I'll just say it now, they have turned this Ari Emanuel thing into the storyline.
Yeah.
That is what CM Punk talks about too.
Yeah.
On Raw. To which one of my thoughts is this whole thing a work, or are they just turning it into a work?
It's a meta work.
To get a meta work
Yeah.
to get ahead of what happened last time when The Rock went on McAfee's show after Mania and said it was Ari Emanuel's idea to turn me heel and turn Cena heel and send me to Elimination Chamber and all that stuff. Are they just trying to get ahead of it by making it the storyline? And if you're doing that, that is freaking insane in terms of trying to tell a global audience of your story. And is Ari Emanuel going to be on television? You have multiple wrestlers now talking about his agent getting Pat McAfee involved in a storyline. Why? So you have to follow that logic.
Right.
Why does Ari Emanuel want Pat McAfee assisting Randy Orton for the WWE Championship? What is that logic? What is that? That is what you're implying.
It's his guy.
Well, otherwise, you're telling us this is fake. This wrestling we're about to do, they just threw Pat McAfee into it because they want to make him a star.
Yeah.
To throw him into this fake wrestling match.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. This is the problem I have had for the last year and a half with what I've called the Unreal Era, which is we're going to tell you all of this is fake. And we're going to show you, we're going to put a Netflix show on to tell you that this is fake. And we're still going to ask you to buy in and pretend it's real. And that doesn't work. And so I don't know what I'm supposed to feel as a watcher of WWE television.
It's a fantastic point. There was a period where they were doing the kayfabe 2.0 that we talked about. WrestleMania 40 coming out of it, a significant period over the first half of the road into WrestleMania 41. They were doing that kayfabe 2.0, and it was working, man. They really planned things out ahead of time. It was some work shoot stuff, but it was still mostly a work, just shoot elements.
Yeah, you have Kevin Owens turn on Cody Rhodes, but it's only broadcast by people who just happen to be there and recorded on their phones.
Right, and then they address it on TV, or
I
they
didn't
don't.
Love it. Like, I want to see it on TV, but like that's within the bounds of kayfabe.
Yeah, but they don't totally address it on TV because it's so violent and you need to go seek it out. Like, it's kind of smart stuff, and it's tough to criticize a lot of that, right? This is so far in the other direction, and even unreal. I remember the prevailing sentiment. We were like, we don't like this, we don't want this, whatever. Then we watched it, and we said, okay, it went far, too far, and they made up some stuff and whatever, but it wasn't that objectionable. And then it really started invading the product. And that's where it has now gone, where are they trying to create a season 3 storyline that, or is this just pure chaos? And now they're going to have to backtrack and figure out how to kayfabe this and tell us it's not as bad as it actually seems. But who is so pressed about ticket sales over there right now? Because you brought this up. I was going to save this till later as well. Who is so pressed about? They are going to make more money from WrestleMania 42 between the site fee and the cost of the tickets and the amount that they've already sold. They're going to make more money from 42 than 41. So the numbers are going to be a little bit lower. The people criticizing that are the IWC. Why do they give a shit? The mainstream media isn't picking it up. Sure, the numbers eventually they'll report them. They're going to be down. They're going to say there's 18% fewer people in the stands for WrestleMania, but the profits are up 20% year over year. What's the issue there?
And the reason the tickets are lower is largely because you're going to the same city 2 years in a row.
It's an unforced error that we've said this on the show so many times, and I was actually going to say that again in a second. They chose to go back to Las Vegas in the middle of a financial crisis, to a city that is completely based on tourism, that is doing worse than the rest of the country, when people from Canada and the United Kingdom and Mexico don't want to come into this country. They made that decision, and they raised the ticket prices. People are saying, because the creative is bad. The creative on Raw, at least, is not bad at all. On SmackDown, it is. But that is not why people are not buying tickets to WrestleMania. It's all of those other issues. The same city, the financial crisis, the ticket prices, etc. That's a self-own. If they did this shit in New Orleans or anywhere else in this country, Chicago, Miami, maybe even, they would have done better than going back to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I was debating actually like a few weeks ago, like tickets are pretty low. Do I actually decide to maybe go out there last second? And now with the price of gas, with everything going on with Iran, it's like, no, I can't. I'm not going to pay the flight to go out there now. That's not going to help. But like, do you really want TKO to become part of your storyline and things people are talking about? Do you really want to look into why TKO owns this company? And as I mentioned before, the current shareholder lawsuit going on over that and what involves Vince McMahon and why that happened. Like, do you want to draw attention to these real life things that are being said and the creative and how it works and who is in control of what?
I'm so
and now
glad
you've got
you said that.
CM Punk. You got CM Punk referencing weird old man.
Oh, let's go.
The Janelle Grant lawsuit is still going on.
It's ongoing.
It's still horrific. Like, I don't even understand from WWE's point of view why you would want
this is like, Chris, the inverse of Dubai chocolate. Are you aware of like part of the reason why that became a trend?
I'm aware of it being a trend and that it's not from Dubai.
Okay, well, sure. Dubai chocolate used to mean something completely different, sexual in nature and quite nasty.
Okay.
And there was a concerted effort to make Dubai chocolate, the shit with pistachios that looks disgusting, I've never tried it, a thing, so that when people search for Dubai chocolate, they come to chocolate and not the other thing. This is the inverse of that. They are putting TKO and Ari Emanuel and all these people, their names on screen, and they're basically telling you, go search for these things and find out this stuff that we should be hiding from you. It's the opposite. It's unbelievable.
I don't understand it. Again, I don't understand. Like, again, it feels like they've turned it into a meta work where they probably decided we want McAfee involved. Here's how we're going to do that. But also, we'll make it a storyline because that'll be another reason to boo Randy, maybe.
Yes,
and just like
and cheer Cody, not boo Randy, to cheer Cody.
It's the only thing that makes sense because I don't think actively deciding all along to make this the story, like, it makes no sense if you go back to Rumble and Chamber and all this stuff. Like, it doesn't actually follow the path. And as we've seen with the last several Manias and with the text messages released from one of the lawsuits from Triple H, these things keep changing.
By the way,
and they have to adjust to a story on the fly.
You don't need to go back to the Royal Rumble Elimination Chamber. Go back 3 weeks. This was not what they were doing 3 weeks ago. Not with the Concerto and all that. None of this was part of it.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. A couple quick items. Actually, I do want to make one correction, just so you know. Those text messages with with Paul Levesque and Nick Khan and Vince McMahon as well. It's a newly created story off text messages that were available, let's call it months ago, maybe a year ago, but they're pertinent to the current situation that's happening. So they were reformed into a story recently. Nothing wrong with doing that. It's totally fine. I'm just making sure everyone knows they're not new text messages in terms of that they were recently revealed or anything like that. They've been out
and it's not the Janelle Grant lawsuit. There is a shareholder lawsuit.
Correct.
The idea that WWE shareholders didn't get the maximum value by selling to TKO, which is a thing that happens in mergers sometimes.
Yes, it happens frequently, yes. All right, couple quick items on this before we get to the CM Punk of it all. On Cody's promo, invoking, and some of this might be repetitive. These are notes that I took before, Chris and I just went off the cuff a little bit. Invoking Emmanuel, talking about WWE not being able to fire him. There's a legitimate possibility that some significant swerve or surprise is hanging out there. I have no idea what it could be. But with John Cena on the show as host and The Rock on the board and completely quiet Dwayne Johnson has been on this road to WrestleMania for the first time in 3 years, it's not out of the realm that one or both of them is somehow involved in this. Unlikely to be Cena, given he's sticking to his retirement, of course. But he could be an advisor or something. I cannot tell you how or why. I cannot promise it will make sense. I'm not even sure there's another place this can go that would make sense without being more ridiculously convoluted. All I'm saying is that Cody's promo at the end of SmackDown, it made me believe there was another twist coming. And if it's not, heaven help them, because as I said, this shit has careened off a cliff.
Here's the thought. If Cody's getting beaten down by both of them in the main event of Mania, and The Rock's music hits, and people go crazy, and he comes out, and you think he's going to hit Cody, and he doesn't, and he turns on McAfee and Orton, and he helps Cody win. People are going to cheer. People are going to call it great. ESPN's going to love it. Ari Emanuel's going to love it.
Yes.
Like, does that bring it back all the way around to say, all right, they made something work
No,
out of it? Like, they just go for the moment.
No, not at all.
We'll see.
But if the WrestleMania moment is great, then the WrestleMania moment is great. Cool. That doesn't change what we just saw the last 2 weeks.
Agree.
At all. 3 final takes I have on this entire deal. I'm going to make them fast. 1, Drew McIntyre lost the title for this bullshit. You cannot tell me a 4-way with him and Jacob Fatu would not have been better than this. Hell, maybe it was a blessing in disguise for those guys. 2, I have no issue with the involvement of celebrities at WrestleMania. It's been going on since the first one. But there is not some vast, untapped wrestling audience out there that is suddenly going to tune in unless you add major celebrities. I'm talking going back to Bad Bunny, Taylor Swift, Sydney Sweeney, The Rock for a WWE audience. Bad Bunny and Mike Tyson back in the day in the Attitude Era. They worked because they were massive names that added gravitas and significant fan base interests. These guys are not. They're marginal B to C level celebrities. 3, it is not lost on me that by having McAfee be the one to deliver the message he did on Friday, WWE is turning sentiment negative against him and Orton from the exact audience, smart marks, who cheered Cena at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. In other words, they have correctly targeted the fans they want and need to boo Orton and cheer Rhodes by putting someone objectionable, McAfee, in the position to be the person delivering the message. Again, I must repeat, that does not mean the creative is quality. However, they did set it up to get the reaction they want from the people they want, in theory, but we did not see that come to fruition in St. Louis. I still don't believe we're going to see it in Las Vegas. It's more likely, though, today that Orton gets booed in Las Vegas than it was at any time over the last month plus. Again, I am not saying it's good. I am not saying it's going to change my opinion of it, but we've been talking for a long time about that not being a possibility. Now it is at least a possibility. I would say for better or worse, but no, just for worse.
Let's throw Travis Scott in there again just to make sure.
Yeah, just to make sure. All right. That was a double dose first part main event. There's another part, as you mentioned multiple times, and it happened on Raw. CM Punk opened the show with a tracking shot through gorilla position to a mixed reaction, first getting chants and then hearing OTC chants. He sat pipe bomb style in the middle of the ring, pontificating about his legacy and place in history before getting heat on Roman Reigns for not being in attendance despite being younger and supposedly fitter. Punk repeated what we did last week. Reigns got over on him a couple weeks ago thanks to his cousins, while Punk last week did it alone. He said, quote, "Being hated by losers is the price I pay for not being one of them." Damn! Then he claimed Roman hates him because Reigns trades authenticity for approval, and he does not. Meanwhile, Punk said he hates Reigns because Roman Reigns was handpicked and plastic, whereas Punk fought against adversity to achieve as much. He said WWE and TKO platform Reigns in the media because he's safe, boring, saccharine, and manufactured, whereas Punk, the champion, is a loose cannon. He pointed out that he's consistently filming TV shows and movies, yet he doesn't miss TV, whereas Roman barely shows up, and when he does, he acts like The Rock and leaves early. But, Punk said, at least Rock is, well, was a legitimate Hollywood superstar. Damn! Punk said his daddy didn't give him a favor job in wrestling because he sucked at football. Damn! Whereas Reigns is a buck-toothed Nepo baby who ate dog food for a weird old man. Damn! Punk said Reigns hates him because he conversely stood up for himself to that same weird old man, and no one has been able to control him. Punk said Reigns only got so many WrestleMania main events because he sucked during the first 8 of them. Anyone else in the same situation would get fired and blackballed. Then he shit all over Pat McAfee, calling him Pat McAfee, a no-brain hillbilly who's just a football player who doesn't know how to put asses in seats. He promised McAfee a receipt. He also referred to Ari Emanuel directly, blaming him for shoehorning McAfee into WrestleMania, saying if ticket sales are bad, it's because the prices are too damn high. This guy should run for mayor of New York. Then he stood amongst the crowd, looking like the man of the people to end the segment. Michael Cole later on commentary said he was more disappointed in McAfee than he has been in anyone across 3 decades with WWE. I don't know, bro. You seemed pretty disappointed with John Cena when he turned heel last year, and I'm sure other bad shit happened to you as well.
I was glad they addressed that, though. I'm
was
glad
cool.
Cole at least said something. He needed to acknowledge the McAfee of it all, and at least he did.
This from CM Punk, for any faults you, Chris, or anyone else might find in it, it was the promo of the year by such a wide margin. I'm not sure anything else will surpass it in 2026. And it's quite possible he's already locked up the meaty for Smack Talker of the Year, mostly because he's already had other great promos too. One of the best talking segments of the entire Paul Levesque creative regime, which is saying something when you consider the gems we got in the Cody and Rock feud, not to mention the Punk bald fraud promo, stuff Becky Lynch has done, other similar explosive moments across both shows. Punk was on fire. This is the guy who has a legitimate case for being the best mic worker of all time. And just as buzzer beaters are not necessarily better shots than first quarter baskets, when the net swishes at the right time, the moment just feels bigger. I'm sorry, I said no more sports metaphors. Now I'm done. This was the right person at the exact right time. Enhancing this even further was how Punk didn't stand flat in the ring. By moving around, he created a sense of action, intensity, energy, emotion, believability. Even though it was all planned, it felt as if he was that loose cannon he claimed to be, taking no prisoners, saying what needed to be said. The problem is that the final third of the promo focused on a completely different feud, on a completely different show, of which he is not a part. But sentiment was so understandably negative coming into Monday night, they really had no choice in the matter but to address it. The visual of Punk standing in the crowd, it was the perfect production capper for this promo. Coming out of an abhorrent SmackDown and an absolute trash build to the night one main event, Punk literally did everything in his power to right the ship and turn the momentum. No one is suggesting that his promo corrected or atoned for what happened Friday, just as Rhodes on SmackDown did not change what came before it. But it definitely made me as a viewer feel better about the totality of WrestleMania, outside of the poor booking of Rhodes Orton and Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, for that matter as well.
And it had to open the show because you had the basketball national championship game. And so I was glad. It was nice to start with this.
It was.
And not like have to wait until the end for a promo.
Or try to watch it during commercial breaks on replay or something. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that was good. Everything he said about Roman was fantastic, great, up there for promo of the year for sure. He's so good because remember, he's getting OTC chants at the beginning of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned them into CM Punk chants. That is a skill that not a lot of people have. That is why CM Punk is one of the best to ever do it. It's the pivot to the McAfee stuff that has me unsure about promo of the year stuff because it's not really relevant and it's just going on a side thing. And
he was still on a heater though, man. I mean, the Reigns stuff on its own was promo of the year.
It was.
Yeah.
It's not up there with the Saudi Arabia stuff, but it's the number 2 most company man thing that CM Punk has done since he came back. To go out there and lean into the meta-ness of it all, of the Ari Emanuel's putting Pat McAfee in the main event of it all. Because I know you have to think the actual CM Punk hates that. It's everything he's always ever spoken against.
Absolutely.
But he went out there and sold the story because he's absolutely a company man right now. And saying lower the ticket prices, that was at least interesting. That's more interesting than the tickets aren't selling. Like that is I'm speaking for the fans here thing. Now he's speaking for the fans and for the company at the same time, and they are lowering ticket prices because they need people to come to the show. Not need people, but they are lowering prices a lot to try to get more people in the building. But he did the best he could. This was really good.
Just to double back on a couple of the items Punk mentioned. First, if you're going to refer to Vince on TV, calling him a weird old man is the appropriate way to do that. While others have painted Reigns as the chosen one, treated with kid gloves before, that's happened many times, there was something about the way Punk said it, the vitriol he attached to it, the juxtaposition of his career with that of Roman. It hit even harder. And not only did the bucktooth comment make me cackle, the line about the Mania main events and how Roman has so many because he sucked for so long and didn't get over, ain't that the truth? The shot at The Rock was the biggest surprise, and what a freaking shot it was, calling him a has-been in Hollywood. That is twice now that Punk has gone after Dwayne Johnson without reply. and then calling McAfee and saying it in obviously insulting fashion. Let's just say it was such a good shot. It brought out anger from some weird people on social media. At the end of the day, Punk addressed many legitimate criticisms and concerns that we and other fans have about this product and WWE in general. Whether it was known exactly what he would say or not, and it probably was to an item, that at least tells us they hear the specifics and they're not just thinking, oh, there's general negativity around the product right now. And that has been overdone, as I have said for months, the negativity around WWE.
The real quick, the Vince weird old man line too. Remember back during the McIntyre Punk feud, I think McIntyre was like standing on the table or something, and he says, I was the chosen one. And Punk just interrupts him and goes, by who? Who gave you that? And that was that was like the Vince thing at the time. Now we've moved on to Cody telling Stephanie, you're not your father, and that Vince is weird old man. Again, the Janelle Grant lawsuits are still moving forward. I'm very surprised they say this stuff on television.
That's true. But again, if you're going to reference Vince, that is much better than saying you are not your father. And that's supposed to be an insult when it's actually a hugely positive compliment.
No, I took it as a compliment when Cody said it. But
no, it wasn't. No, it was not at all. It was meant as from a power. We talked about this last week. He meant that
we
you try to
talk about that specifically. Yeah,
I thought we did. Cody, when he said that, he said, you are definitely not your father. He meant like you try to be powerful and control the business, whatever. You can't do what he did. That's what that was. It was very weird the way he said it.
Okay, I took it in a different way because he comes around by saying thank you and stuff. So it wasn't like
at the end anyway, he did say thank you, but no, yeah, it was different.
It is interesting though because that and this weird old man thing, neither of those things needed to happen. There's no tie to Vince in these storylines. They're just like really like leaning up to it a little bit.
The Vince McMahon of it all, though, between Reigns and Punk, that is legitimate. I mean, I'm shocked that they used it as a story point, but that was real during Punk's run with the company, with Reigns, the Shield,
right.
The way he treated both of them. Like, that was appropriate, and it wasn't necessary, but it was appropriate to inject into their feud. With Stephanie and Cody, it was not needed at all.
Right, but he didn't need to say it in this promo. Like, you didn't need to, you took dog
No.
food or something.
He didn't. He absolutely did not need to. You're 1,000% right. I'm just saying it made sense here. And it was between Roman and Punk. If you're going to bring Vince into play and you're not going to mention his name, at least do it with Reigns and Punk. With Cody and Stephanie, he only got brought up because of Dusty, and neither of them needed to be mentioned here. Unless Stephanie was going to say, hey, do you remember when Randy punted your father's head off of his body 19 years ago? Like, if she said that,
Thinking about the Stephanie thing is just making me even more upset about the Cody Randy.
It's freaking unbelievable, dude.
Took him over to Raw at MSG just to do that.
Just to freaking do that. It's unbelievable. You know what else is unbelievable? NordVPN. Because whether it's Raw, SmackDown, and NXT or premium live events on Netflix, we're all in with NordVPN these days. It's easy to set up a drastically better viewing experience each night with the same high quality streams, except they become commercial-free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom or France, open Netflix and watch the program. It's going to be crucial for WrestleMania. You know it. I know it. You also can get around online censorship and surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing. NordVPN does it all, and one account can be used on 10 different devices. To get the best discount, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. There's no risk, nor does a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing, save money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. We love having NordVPN as the official singular sponsor here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Vintage, I kind of transitioned into that just because I thought it was a good way to do it. Was there anything left unsaid between us that we can't at least put a pin in for 48 hours until the Thursday show regarding Cody, Randy, McAfee, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, anything else? I think we covered it pretty well.
Can't wait for that Stephen A. Smith appearance.
So we will potentially circle back to this topic on Thursday's show. Many of you know we've been hitting WWE off the top of that program. I do have a couple news items that we skipped for today. Also, you guys send us your questions and comments on social media. Again, at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. Our Slack channel is growing rapidly, and people are talking throughout live shows, in between shows. It's great. You can find the link in our social media profiles. Join our Slack. There are talking points that you guys come up with in there that I allow to bleed into the show. There's questions and comments that you make that I address directly here on the show as well. So do that. We're going to go through all of it. And on Thursday, if we both have time, which I believe we will, unless I'm wrong about Chris's schedule, we may do another WWE intro to the NXT and AEW show. We'll circle back on some of this. We'll listen to the Pat McAfee segments that he did on his show and determine whether he said anything of value. Also, Triple H is guesting on Cody Rhodes' podcast. I believe it's this week. The interview was most likely taped a couple weeks ago, so I doubt they're going to address any of this, but there might be stuff to talk about from that as well. So stay tuned. We may circle back to all of this on Thursday, but Vintage, we have...
I tell you what, if Cody's asking Triple H about his relationship with Nick Khan and Ari Emanuel, I would love to listen to that.
Yeah, especially like, how was it then when it was taped, and then what is it like now? But Vintage, as I tried to transition a second ago, we have plenty more still to talk about from Raw and SmackDown this week, and we're going to get to it, hopefully, with just as much passion, but not as much anger, in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy.
Say hello to the back.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
One note as we get into this segment, I cut match breakdowns as much as I possibly could this week for time. Figured we had so much to cover that every second counts. Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar had a scheduled contract signing on Raw. Triple H came out to oversee the meeting before Heyman entered, calling Lesnar the conqueror of the ruler. He also, again, called Lesnar the real main event of WrestleMania. To be fair, it was the main event of Raw, and it was odd that WWE flashed the producer credits on screen before a scheduled segment as if Raw was supposed to end at 10:30 on the dot or some shit like that. Oba mocked Brock's bouncing fighting stance before Lesnar attacked Femi as he tried to step through the ropes. Oba immediately drove him into the ring post and push slammed him over the table in the ring. Off went another pull-apart brawl, but again, to be fair, this was the most appropriate of any pull-apart brawls we've gotten to this point. They literally threw a desk chair back and forth. No contract was signed, and Raw just ended 1 minute after the violence started. Why? There's not a hard out for this show on Monday night. That is so nonsensical. Why not have Oba grab a mic and just spout anger or confidence for a few lines? This is arguably your best feud on the road to WrestleMania from an intensity standpoint, and you're running it off the air with the quickness. This pisses me off so much. Not enough to give it anything other than a good, though, because it was still super hot and intense. But it was probably the weakest of their segments, as we didn't actually get anything fresh or interesting. Additional footage was taped for social media, but again, it's stupid not to show that live. Why should I have to wait 90 minutes for it to get posted so I can see 90 additional seconds of a brawl?
Yeah, like we've talked about this since they moved to Netflix. There is no hard out. If you're going to do a hard out, you have to explain it. And frankly, a good way to do that in kayfabe is to, one of these times you want to do this, have them fighting up near the stage and someone falls off and they land on a thing and the sparks go out and it cuts the feed and that's the end of the show. Imagine a Raw ending like that. Mm-hmm. You're like, whoa, did the feed just get caught on accident? Was that real? Like, that's the way
That's the way you do it. Correct.
Like, you do the little sparkler stuff and nothing ever happens anyway. Like, actually, you could actually make this mean something. So that was like a very frustrating way for it to end, but everything else was fine. This is probably the second most, if not the most hottest story, even though there's not much one going into WrestleMania. I think, did they add more to Oba's entrance again?
Yes. No, not again. It was the same as last week, but yeah.
It feels like every week, it felt like I couldn't tell if they added in the whoos at the beginning themselves.
No, I don't think they did.
It's the way to
the delay is just so long. No, the delay is so long the fans start doing it and then the music hits and it's like, ugh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it feels like
stop messing with these entrances. The final boss, when I understood it, it was awesome at the end. Like the 10th iteration was the best of all of them. This one is not improving. Just go back 2 clicks and use that one. And
simpler is better. Yeah. That's what got fans into it. But no, this was good. Not much more to say, really. I mean, there's not much. If they're not going to really, really fight each other,
right,
then we're just going to kind of do this and that's okay because it's a spectacle match and you want people to wait for that.
WWE announced the WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 cards Tuesday morning on Get Up, which airs on ESPN. We will go over those at the very end of this show. This was announced as one of the first 2 matches for, I believe, Night 2 is what they said. Yep. So they want it on ESPN, which is what we expected. But I'll tell you what, given how absolutely effed the Rhodes Orton match has become, if I had the book, I'd make this the Night 1 main event. You want people anticipating this match. You want the fever to reach a pitch. Can you imagine this ending a show and the place going absolutely bonkers for 7-8 minutes and then you crown Oba Femi in the main event Night 1 of WrestleMania? I know that's a lot. I'm just saying that's how hot this is and that's how crazy the crowd is for these guys. Rhea Ripley fought...
Yeah. Sorry.
I just want to move on. I just want to... Yeah, there's so much to do.
Yep.
Rhea Ripley fought Michin on SmackDown. B-Fab was ringside and Jade Cargill came out 30 seconds after the bell. Ripley landed a nasty razor's edge right to the top of her shoulders, only to come back, eating a spike poison Rana and eat defeat for a false finish. Ripley answered with a back body drop and prism trap to win via submission while staring at Jade. B-Fab attacked after the bell, but took a headbutt before Michin came out, took Rhea's knee down, proceeding another 3-on-1 beatdown. This time, Io Sky prevented Jade with a save. Fans went nuts. Jade did. She prevented Jade, the finisher, with a save. Fans went absolutely crazy, and most importantly, Io was healthy. Ripley and Sky hugged after backstage, saying the difference is that Michin and B-Fab are followers, while Io is a friend. They promise to have each other's backs no matter what. A fun little online moment at the end of this interview is that Kathy Kelly showed jealousy over their relationship. That is something she's been doing tongue-in-cheek on social media for a long time now, because she and Ripley worked on the same brand and were really close. Then they changed her brand and Rhea simultaneously became close with Io and kayfabe. So it was pretty funny. The match segment was paint by numbers, sure. It was still eons better than last week. Nonsensical from the standpoint that the B-Fab match was set up the same way, yet they purposely caused a DQ for a beatdown. So with both again ringside this week, why would you not do the same thing? Why would you let your girl get beaten? The wrestling was solid enough with Michin getting a chance to work and Rhea looking damn strong with her power moves. Further notable was the return of Prism Trap, which could allow Jade to lose without being pinned. My gut tells me that I need to be super pessimistic about the Io save, especially since Joe Tessitore made a big deal of her being a factor in the match while running down the WrestleMania card. But the booking with Asuka and Kairi Sane on Raw the last 2 weeks has been staring us in the face, and I cannot imagine that match being held off until Backlash, even if that's only 3 weeks after WrestleMania. Let's pray that Io is also wrestling on the show and not stuck as a backup. We'll talk more about her momentarily. This, though, with Ripley and Jade and her lowercase b baddies, it was better than last week, so I'll give it a good.
I just need to know if Io is going to be punished as a Raw superstar coming over to SmackDown to make a save. That's
unbelievable.
You're not allowed to do that. This was fine. It was good. Other thing I wrote in my notes, Rhea is much leaner now, as everybody knows, and she looks great. She looks fantastic. Her gear looks like it's a little too big now.
Yes.
Things are kind of like sagging, like the chains and stuff on the gear. So Charles Barkley loses a ton of weight, but he's wearing suits.
Oh, his suits look enormous.
A bit too big.
Yeah.
I don't know, just it stands out a little bit more. I think it would emphasize Rhea more if the gear was a little better fitting.
Yeah, no,
she looks great.
She should do whatever she wants, and she does look great. But also, she's losing some of her power, and she probably needs to change her moveset too to atone for that. And
that's what I thought with the Prism Trap.
Maybe
that was a thought I had.
Yeah, that could be part of it as well. Very possible. Asuka in Japanese got a promo package criticizing Io for tearing their family apart out of selfishness and now trying to rip Kairi Sane away too. She said she loved Io and joined WWE to pave the way for both of them, sacrificing everything to create opportunities. Asuka said she never expected a thank you as she did it all out of love, but now she realizes she loved Io too much because she took advantage of her kindness and used her. Asuka said she will always be her senpai, but now she must pay by learning one final lesson in the ring when she takes everything away from her. This was a fantastic promo. And Asuka looked incredible with like paint extended down her neck like she was the demon. But while Asuka suggested a match, nothing was solidified, which again has me concerned. It might somehow be on the Go Home Raw, or even worse, the Raw after WrestleMania. Actually, that would be better, but still, neither is good. This match was not announced Tuesday when they set the cards on ESPN. And while Io did tweet Tuesday that she hopes to see Asuka in Las Vegas, guess what? That Raw after WrestleMania, it's also in Las Vegas. This was extremely good. exactly the type of promos Asuka should have been cutting her entire WWE main roster career. But I'm going to be concerned about Io not wrestling at WrestleMania until the second it is announced. And if it's not, I'm going to be on a warpath. I'm just warning all of you.
Well, I was waiting to get to that because of what happened on Raw, but this was great from Asuka. It was fantastic. Like, it was a reminder of how good she is, how she's a Hall of Famer, and she laid that all out in a way that was important. It was fantastic.
Was that such good for you?
Yes.
Rio fought Michin and B-Fab on Raw. When the bell rang, I had no earthly idea why this was on TV Monday night. Corey Graves literally called the heels baddies, lowercase b, like I did a moment ago. Nearly the entire match happened during the commercial break. Io used a pinning combination to beat B-Fab afterward. Jade led a 3-on-1 attack after the bell before Rhea saved, wasting Michin with a headbutt, only to take a boot to the chest from Cargill, who, by the way, was dressed as if Mrs. Claus was going to the Met Gala. The heels held Ripley back in the corner as Cargill grabbed the kendo stick and started beating Io with it, hitting Jade to end the segment. This feud sucks. The heels are getting heat. They are. But man, they are so bland and generic. This has not helped Jade at all. The entirety of the feud is fueled by the fans' love of Rhea and now Io. Was this done to write Io off WrestleMania? On the back of the excellent Asuka promo that seemed to be setting up a match, they did this. It has literally, Friday and then Monday, been snip, snap, for a month. On SmackDown, it feels like Io is going to, at best, help Ripley win the WWE Championship. On Raw, it feels like Io is going to have a singles match with Asuka, which has been both of their careers in the making. They did it once on TV, but it was nothing. This is the match that you need to have between these two women. On Monday, Asuka set up their match, and then SmackDown invaded Raw, and Io got taken out. So what? She misses TV next week and surprises at Mania to help Rhea, and they do Asuka Io on the Raw after WrestleMania? Entirely unacceptable if that is happening coming off the best year of this woman's entire career. But even beyond that with Io, this sucked. It was bad.
We are inches away from the thing you dreaded at the very beginning of Rhea Jade, which was Io pulled out of a tag team and then is used as just a device to get sympathy on Rhea.
I called this shit, man.
And that's it. And
didn't I? Like, it was like 6 weeks
match.
ago, right? I called it like 6 weeks ago. Whenever it happened. Whenever she won Elimination Chamber, I called it.
Yes, you did. And part of me thinks it maybe wasn't the plan and is a late pivot just to not do Io Asuka on the show. I mean, we'll talk about the whole card later, but like, they've announced, usually when they announce the cards on ESPN, that's it.
Last year they were one match short when they announced the cards. I forget where they did. And it was a SmackDown match that got added. So they announced it, and then the following Friday, they added a match. It's not impossible that Asuka and Io gets added to this card. I'm not saying it's impossible. What I am saying is that you have 3 women's matches on night 1. You have 1 on night 2. You had a great promo from Asuka on Monday night. Why are you then writing Io off seemingly in the next segment?
Why are you like the production?
Everyone wants this match, Chris. Like smart marks, fans on TV, I mean the casuals on TV. Everyone wants this match, and it needs to happen at a WrestleMania. It is the match between these women. Why is this so hard? Why hasn't it been announced? It doesn't make any sense.
You know, Triple H would say, nothing's ever booked and taken off, although in this case they have finally booked it. I would just wonder if you're looking at a full card and you're thinking we have to cut something, do you say, let's cut the one with the 2 Japanese women in it and we can throw Io onto the Rhea thing?
You know what? Vince McMahon, yes. Paul Levesque, no, man. He loves them.
I agree. Paul, he loves her.
He loves
100%.
them. How is this not a shoo-in?
That's why I'm very surprised it hasn't been locked in yet. One other thing, when Rhea is tied up in the corner and saying basically hit me instead of Io, she sounded exactly like the Joker in The Dark Knight.
I'll listen back.
When Batman is driving the motorcycle down the street and the Joker's like, hit me, I want you to, and he turns it and doesn't hit the Joker.
That's fine.
She sounded exactly like that. Deep voice and everything. It was wild. I thought it was that. Last thing, Jade's outfits in this feud. She's just covering herself. Like they're fantastical and out there, But the very first promo between these two,
I knew where you were going,
was about how Jade's got muscles. And we thought it was the opportunity for the first time to have Rhea play the underdog as the smaller looking person, especially as she got a little bit more lean. You're taking away the number one selling point of Jade, which is her body. And I don't mean that in an objective way. I mean, she looks like a Greek goddess.
Right.
That's her entrance and everything.
She would admit that too. She would admit that it's the look and the aura more than anything else.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like that's her number one selling point. And she's just wearing outfits that are covering up most of it now, to the point where it's like, why? And also, like, you miss the opportunity to paint Rhea as the underdog.
She's dressing like big time Bex and Seth frickin' Rollins instead of Jade Cargill. I want to see Jade Cargill. I want to see Storm. That's what I want to see when she's out there. It's
right.
crazy.
She looks incredible. Like, I'm very
It's
surprised.
the whole reason to do the match and the selling point for it. It's very odd. AJ Lee got a video package that positioned her as a trailblazer with a highlight of her best moments from her original run in WWE. Becky Lynch then interrupted an interview with Cole before it even started. Lynch suggested that Lee quit WWE when she saw Becky coming as her replacement. She said WrestleMania is her home and AJ will not have a home field advantage. Lee said she's proud of Lynch and everything that she's accomplished for herself and others in WWE, but she clarified that none of those heights would have been reached without AJ shattering the glass ceilings first. Lee said WWE still calling her a decade later and the fans remembering her proves that she's not replaceable. AJ even pointed out that she's Rue's favorite wrestler, and Becky has to deal with that. This had been a rough feud for a while. They have been nailing the build for the last 3 weeks. The seriousness with which each of them spoke makes everything feel far more important. I'd argue they should have gotten more time over the last few weeks, but the truth is they've been feuding for so long, and other storylines needed quicker development with WrestleMania so close. All that's left for them is to land the plane in their match. It needs to be better than anything that came before it. And considering AJ has now been fully back training for a while now, had a damn good match with Bayley, I actually believe it's going to happen. I think this match will deliver, but this segment delivered. It was good.
Yeah, very good. And it was refreshing too, because they weren't both talking in sarcasm anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a WWE issue. They were just talking. And that made it feel more real and intense and serious and really good. Fantastic stuff from both of them.
Jacob Fatu got a promo package saying, when you come from the gutter, you have no choice but to be a product of your environment. It's not about wrong or right, but survival. And every decision he made to this day, every day he was locked up, all of it still brought him to WWE and WrestleMania. He said having no rules nor anybody to stop him puts Drew McIntyre in his world. This was one of Fatu's best promos since joining WWE. He is so much more calm and composed when he's not in the ring with a live mic. And when it comes to storytelling, that's what you need. Fatu set up the match perfectly, explaining why the stipulation was to his advantage, basically accepting his past as a means of moving him into the future. He kind of crushed it, actually. This was good.
Yeah, very good. We got like a record number of vignette promos over SmackDown and Raw, and they were all better. I'm not saying that's only what you do, but we hadn't gotten those in a while, really, outside of Stephanie Liv, and to see other people get into it. You have to do that to tell a story, because the live crowd sometimes is too interested in whatting you and waiting for their signal to cheer on something. And when you want to get into a real type of thing and sell the legitimacy of it, do it that way. And it worked great.
You got to have a mix for some of these feuds, totally. McIntyre later got an equal promo package saying his WWE Championship was stolen, just like the World Heavyweight Championship before it. All he's heard from Fatu are excuses, justifications, and lies, proving he's a criminal and a thief who has not changed and never will. McIntyre called him the Nepo criminal of a family that has made his life hell in WWE, and said he will prove next week that Fatu is precisely the guy he claims. Surprisingly less strong than Fatu, but this had a pointed direction for next week. The only part of these two segments that bored me was a very corny convict label being put over Fatu's face during Drew's promo, but it sounds like they're going to do a segment similar to the trial of Sami Zayn next week. So a bit of corniness is not the end of the world automatically. I hope McIntyre proves he was not the one who kicked Fatu's teeth down his throat, enhancing that mystery as a storyline for Jacob coming out of WrestleMania. We will find out, but this was also good, just in a completely different way.
Yeah, it was good. My only disappointment was just to not have either of these guys like really on TV, this far out for as hot as these guys were, a few weeks ago. But if we got something big coming next week or this week, that's okay.
By the way, this is just like last year when McIntyre and Damian Priest completely over-delivered both during the road to WrestleMania and with their match on the big show, despite Drew being in a position lower than what we wanted. This is a chance to be one of the best parts of Mania if they don't stick to silly wrestling weapons and let them get a little bit more extreme. I don't even need blood. I just need them to do some unique shit that looks violent. Do you agree?
Yes. What is the official stipulation for
unsanctioned match? Which is why I'm saying you can't just use kendo sticks, chairs, and tables.
Yeah.
You got to do some unsanctioned shit, Because
as I was looking at the card that they had laid out, I was like, we need some more stipulations in here. So that works.
That is a talking point I want to have later. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are 100% going to have Jacob Fatu handcuffed in this, right?
He should be. Absolutely. Yeah. Seth Rollins opened hour 2 of Raw wearing all black, hyped as hell in full babyface mode, saying he's back healthy. His fans cheered and then sang his song. Rollins admitted that he's trying to put the pieces together, considering he neither had a history nor a personal issue with Gunther, so he assumed that Gunther entered into a business relationship with Heyman. He said his only missions right now are to regain the World Heavyweight Championship that he never lost and kill the Vision. Rollins claimed he put Brock Lesnar on a silver platter for Obafemi, basically taking some credit for the setup a few weeks ago, but he called Oba the future, which was really cool of him to say. Rollins told Gunther if he chooses to be a shield for Heyman, the business has turned personal. Gunther tried but failed to attack Rollins from behind. Seth reversed a sleeper hold, missed a stomp, hit a tope suicida before nearly tackling Gunther headfirst into the ring apron. It was really nasty. He hit a boot to the face while being held back, and Gunther left the area. Gunther smiled backstage when he saw Heyman, who said he didn't understand why Gunther got his back last week, but he owes him a huge thank you. Gunther said the situation is personal to him, just not for the reasons Rollins understands. Then he shook Heyman's hand, saying he owes him a lot more than a thank you, presumably referring to a favor to be named later. With this being the penultimate Raw for WrestleMania, I exited this segment thinking it was a shame that Gunther didn't expand on his reasoning. Why not share both sides this week and then go home by doubling down? But this was good for what was delivered. They had physical chemistry just from the brief exchange. It does leave us wanting more. As for Rollins, he did everything he needed to do in the first half of this segment, and that Gunther favor may well be the retirement match with Lesnar. Super easy setup for that. I already called it good. I'll say it again.
Yeah, it was good. The intrigue and answered question sort of it not being for Heyman was like, okay. Like, I was worried that was going to be like some easy way out. Oh, he's a Heyman guy or whatever, but he's not. And so like, okay, that's interesting, but we don't actually have the answer yet. And now we only have the go home show. So we will need that next week, but this was good.
Sami Zayn got booed while walking backstage before he thanked Nick Aldis for giving him an opportunity to speak to the fans and even splurging for pyro. He apologized for getting testy with Aldis last week. Nick said it was not necessary because he did what he said he would do by making a spot for himself at WrestleMania. As Sami prepared to enter, Trick Williams' music hit, and he came out with Lil Yachty, who, for the record, is from around Atlanta, not St. Louis. Trick's explanation was that other stars were out on the road to WrestleMania, so he brought out his guy. Yachty called him a legend in the making, so Williams asked him to join him at Mania. Trick eventually got around to talking about the match, basically saying, "Ginger, please." Yachty gassed him up big time as Williams demanded to get all of Zayn's pyro. Once that went off and he celebrated, Sami entered guiding some jeers, saying he's not about all the pomp and circumstance, but taking care of business once he gets in the ring. Zayn said once the bell rings, nothing can save Trick because he's going to get humbled and humiliated against one of the best to ever do it. Williams responded by taking credit for the United States Championship victory, which led to Carmelo Hayes entering to quite a nice reaction. Melo promised Trick would get his receipt, saying he knew the perfect place to spin the block on him, but he also called out Sami for taking advantage of the situation before reciting nearly every single thing I said on last week's show, word for word. He even got the fans chanting, "We want Melo," after saying they don't want Sami Zayn. Hayes then demanded his rematch. Sami told Melo he was correct about everything. He's a great wrestler. He carried SmackDown on his back. He deserves a rematch, but he lost an open challenge, and while it sucks that it came at Hayes' expense, the match is already official for WrestleMania. He will get his rematch afterward. Trick played on Sami's claim of having integrity, so Zayn admitted that Williams was responsible for last week and admitted that he was being a hypocrite. Fans again chanted, "We want Melo," unprompted this time. Hayes demanded Zayn do the right thing, and Sami agreed, cautioning that if he retains, it's the last he wants to hear about it. Williams clowned Zayn for taking forever to come up with that conclusion, so Sami turned around and clotheslined him over the top rope. I'm going to hold my opinion on the match being booked for Friday, as the result was crucial to whether it was positive or negative creatively. This segment itself was exactly what it needed to be. It could have been 2 to 4 minutes shorter. The combination of establishing Yachty, establishing Sami as a heel tweener, and having Melo come out one after another, it made this drag a lot. But the meat of it was spot on, with Hayes talking his talk, Zayn proving himself to be a hypocrite, and the fans responding perfectly to both of them. It tells you that even without the US title, he's legitimately over, and the last few months were not in vain. And Sami getting booed was music to my ears. Establishing the pyro and then having Trick steal it, that was a nice touch. Still, pessimism reigned for me after the segment ended, because the rematch at the time of this booking, it felt like a way to screw Melo a second time and excuse his absence from the show. I held out hope that Hayes would win the title back, sending Zayn into a downward spiral, getting left off the card. As far as Yachty, I said this with iShow Speed last week. I don't mind involvement of celebrities for WrestleMania when they are additive. Yachty was there purely to enhance Williams and serve as a hype man. He helped Trick flex his personality. He gave him street cred in the entertainment community, didn't detract from the presentation. So at the end of this, 3-part segment, I was almost entirely at good.
Agree. And Melo getting the cheers, getting the "We Want Melo" chants, that was crucial to you obviously, you're a big Carmelo Hayes guy, have always been forever. I've always been on the fence of how over is he really? What is he if he's not holding the belt, doing a great wrestling match? And this was a segment that showed the crowd's behind him. They love him. And that's what you needed to see. On the Lil Yachty point, like you said, he was additive, but I would say Trick just looked way better than
Oh, yeah.
Trick, he
did not need
he just
him.
looks like a star the way he's dressed and looks and carrying himself, and having Lil Yachty is a star, but if you don't know who he is,
yeah,
you're just who's this random guy next to this guy, Trick Williams? But that's more of a credit to Trick.
Trick is a bigger star in wrestling than Yachty is in rap, and that's not diminishing Yachty. It's just Trick is crazy over right now. So, yeah. Intercontinental Championship, Zayn against Hayes. Williams and Yachty were ringside for the main event. Melo heavily sold his left leg in this match. Sami clearly worked heel, upping his aggressiveness and getting jeered for it. Melo ultimately landed first 48, but Sami avoided nothing but net, with Hayes screaming in pain due to his knee. The referee actively prevented Sami from going at Melo as he checked his health in the corner, but Zayn nevertheless ran into the other corner and hit a haluva kick to retain the title. It was a total blindside protection finish, considering the referee was in the way doing the check, and Sami hit a move he was not supposed to at that moment. Trick and Yachty confronted him afterward, with Williams clotheslining him from behind and then holding Zayn for a trick shot in what came across entirely like the actions of heels. And this is why I separated the prior segment from the match in my breakdown here before even the first bell rang. I had a feeling that it was going to end with me displeased, but it was so much worse than I thought it was going to be. Let me explain. The earlier segment created the possibility of a triple threat, or potentially Sami dropping the title back and still going on his downward spiral. Instead, Melo got written off WrestleMania for the second time in as many weeks. Did he get massive protection with the injury and the referee shielding? Undoubtedly. That doesn't change the fact that it seems like Hayes is getting left off the card, which is even worse now because you roused the crowd to want him a couple hours earlier. That's frustrating on its own. But okay, Melo would at least have momentum coming out of Mania, one assumes. So even if it's not what we want, at least it was explained and we can be disappointed, perhaps not as angry as we otherwise would be. Except you have spent weeks now putting Sami on the precipice of being a heel. This week, the tide fully turns where no one is cheering for him at any point on screen. He works heel all match. Trick is getting cheered. You have him with a popular rapper. They're doing the face-to-face for WrestleMania. And then you have the burgeoning babyface not speak to his opponent. Yachty does that for no reason whatsoever, ruining all the praise I shared a moment ago. And then you have Trick do a heel attack from behind. Why? Seriously, someone tell me why it was booked like that. How the hell was that the creative plan to close SmackDown? Fans booing Trick. This went from extremely good at the start of the show to a light good or light bad after the final bell to infuriating and dumbfoundingly ugly.
0.0 0.
0.0, Mr. Blutarski.
So in the previous segment, when Mello said to Trick that he would give him his receipt and he knows the perfect place, that immediately told me Mello was not going to be on Mania, because they were acknowledging we will get to Mello Trick
Eventually.
but now around Mania is not that time. So I'm not surprised it ultimately played out like it did. But like you said, how are we supposed to feel about Sammy versus Trick? They're both healing it up. They're both getting booed. Like, unless they're throwing Mello in this week or on the go home, I don't know. It feels like they would have to, because otherwise, what is the story? Who are we rooting for? It's heel versus heel is not a pro wrestling thing, especially at Mania.
It was unbelievable when they did that clothesline, and when Yachty cut the promo for Trick. I'm so exhausted already on this show. I hate to say that. I hate to admit that. I'm so tired. I would love to rant on this longer. I will repeat something, though, before we move on. This was never a zero-sum situation. Mello could have gone into WrestleMania as champion, either with an open challenge or against Ilya Dragunov, and the Sammy Trick story was told so well for so long that it never needed a championship to be important or to be on this show. Not when Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio is similarly making the card without a title on the line. This was a pure unforced error. In fact, now that I think about it, they took the title off Dominic Mysterio and then they put it on Sami Zayn. They could have just left them and then done a ladder match for a number one contendership, and it would have worked just as well for the Intercontinental Championship is what I'm referring to, just so we're all on the same page here. But this was a pure unforced error, and it legitimately came across as disrespectful to Mello that he's being left off this card again after he was left off last year's WrestleMania, as well as Money in the Bank, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and Elimination Chamber. That's 6 straight tentpole events that this guy has not appeared on. He's carried SmackDown for the last 3 months, and you're leaving him off WrestleMania. It is so freaking unacceptable.
Don't like it.
Stephanie Vaquer got a promo package saying the bleach blonde hair dye must have seeped into Liv Morgan's brain, and talking shit about moms is something middle schoolers do. Vaquer said she's happy to play dirty if Liv wants. It's clear through her relationship with Dominic that she's trying to solve her daddy issues with a pathetic excuse for a man jealous of his own father's success. Vaquer said that she was about inspiring women, and while Morgan thinks it's on site for Vaquer, she'll ensure Liv never sees it coming. This was well done from a content standpoint, but it was unnecessarily scripted and robotic. I am not understanding why. It didn't accomplish much. This feud has been going on for more than 2 months. Nothing has really happened. I do hope there's something super strong in store for the go home next week. That was my thought at the end of this segment. So I liked the content. I did not like the delivery. I know Vaquer can be better than this. It seems like because English is not her first language, they are just scripting everything. At least let her be natural in Spanish. And then if you want to script her in English so she can remember it, that's completely fine. I'm giving this a good enough, but I'm also putting a pin in it because there's something I liked a lot more.
Yeah, like good. It's like I said a couple months ago, which is like even in Spanish, Stephanie didn't feel super confident. But, you know, it's a difficult spot. It is what it is. Only other thing I wanted to say on this, following this promo, they put up the match graphic, and they gave Liv a 6-pack. This might have been even more. This might have been the most egregious one yet that we've seen of these. Liv, beautiful woman.
Yeah,
she does not have a 6-pack.
Liv and Oba Femi do not have 6-packs for entirely different reasons. I don't think Liv wants that aesthetic. I think Liv could have one if she wants. I don't think she
looked like
wants
Jade Cargill in the graphic.
She looked like Jade Cargill, and I don't even know who Oba Femi looked like. Like Roman Reigns at his peak fitness. That's not what they look like.
Yeah.
And that's not to mention that, remember the Roman Reigns graphic? His arm was all vascular and weird. Like these graphics,
yeah, they've done that for a while.
Out of control, dude. Finn Balor was supposed to fight JD McDonough. However, Dominic attacked Balor from behind during his entrance, bashing him with the AAA Mega Championship before wearing him out with a steel chair and celebrating while seated over his carcass. I was looking forward to Balor and McDonough. I was left pretty disappointed here. Balor getting an establishment win would have been nice. I presume they didn't do it because McDonough really can't lose before the ladder match that he's barely belonging in, and they didn't want people bitching about a DQ. Still, not only did it fail to get decent time, but this didn't accomplish anything for either guy. Balor later got a promo package, though, which was supposed to be after the attack, but he didn't show any signs of injury. Balor said playtime is over, and while Dom thinks he knows him, little Edge reference there, he only knows one side of him. The other side was buried a long time ago. He thought it was gone forever, but Dom has awoken it. There was a heartbeat and some breathing as this ended, so it was crystal clear that they are bringing back the demon for Balor, which has been dormant since the flipped booking we spoke about earlier at WrestleMania 39, when Edge beat Balor, but Balor as the demon was supposed to beat Edge. That should mean that Finn wins this match, and it's worthy of a hook to enhance what is otherwise a non-title singles match. One with plenty of history, but a non-title singles match nonetheless. The demon was a main eventer, don't forget, so you never know. I was set to give this a bad for the opening attack, but Balor's promo on the back end at least allows me to put a light good on this overall.
Yeah, light good. I'm torn on straight up giving away the demon.
Can I speak to that for a moment? Let me speak to that for a moment.
Yeah, yes, but I'll also say like he's the demon on the graphic.
That's what I was going to say. At the end of the promo package, I didn't love that they teased it, but I accepted it. They didn't say demon. They just played the sound for 1 second. You had to really know about the character to understand that's what was happening. Yes. I was already wishing, sorry, 1 second. It was going to be more of a surprise. What was not okay is what you just said. WWE posted a match poster an hour after Raw that showed Balor dressed as the demon. Why do they insist on ruining surprises for big shows? I love Balor and I love the demon gimmick, but no one, not one single person, is buying a ticket or tuning into WrestleMania specifically for the demon. If they are demon fans, they are Balor fans, and they are already watching, and they already heard what he just said about the demon, and they're already excited about it. So why not keep it as 50% of a surprise at a minimum, leave something to the imagination so fans can pop even harder for it live? Again, okay after the little tease, not okay after them posting that poster. Ridiculous.
And small point as well, on the whole night graphics that WWE posted, the design of these don't make any sense because you have Balor written up to down versus, and then the next to that Mysterio up to down. Right next to that is Cargill up to down, Ripley up to down with verses in between them, and then next to that is Zayn Williams, no verses. So I don't know. There's no consistency on the design of this graphic.
I presume that's based on length of last name, maybe?
Well, there's a big gap under Zayn now.
Oh, there is.
So it's just weird. The verses are different spots or not there at all. It's not there for Femi either. It's weird.
I will note, though, that the Night 1 and Night 2 graphics do now have completely different designs. The Night 1 is using the Fallout theme, I think it is, or Mad Max, or I don't know the difference between all of those. That's using that. And then the futuristic blue theme is Night 2. So they did ultimately separate it, and what we guessed the entire time did come to fruition. They made both graphics for every single match. That way, once they separated them, they had a different aesthetic. So,
and no Oba or Liv six packs proper.
They didn't have them on the graphics?
On these graphics.
The final ones?
They have them on the like scratch ones that they do on the show.
You're right. I'm looking right now. They look completely normal. Everyone looks normal. Even Roman Reigns. Like, you're right. These are the best graphics they've made. I'm looking at both nights right now. So, okay.
I agree.
They got the graphics right in the end, I guess. So, congratulations to them. JD assured Dom in the Judgment Day Clubhouse not to worry about Finn. And then they commiserated about the Intercontinental title, with Dom having an idea he wanted to run by Pierce. Roxanne Perez came through, so Morgan actually pushed Raquel Rodriguez away. Roxanne Perez came through, so Morgan actually pushed Raquel Rodriguez away, telling Perez that she appreciated her help last week, but had concerns about Balor bringing her into Judgment Day. This is what I was saying last week. I love that they addressed this. Liv asked if Roxy understood why they had to turn on Finn, but before she could answer, Stephanie straight up leveled Liv, trucking her over Roxy before throwing Morgan headfirst into a TV. At first, because they were wearing the same colors, I thought it was Raquel who murked Liv out of jealousy and anger.
I thought the same.
I was like, holy shit, they turned her before. This is crazy. She's going to align with Stephanie Vaquer. Alas, that's not what happened. This was a great, violent attack by Vaquer, more so than expected, because Liv and Roxy's heads collided with a thud, and then Morgan took that header into the TV. She literally broke real glass or whatever you want to call that material that's on front of a television. Like, it shattered and it was legit. This was gnarly as hell. And Liv and Roxy both showcased massive knots on their foreheads on Monday. I presume both of them are in concussion protocol, not meaning they have concussions, but they're being evaluated accordingly for their health and safety. I truly hope both are okay, because holy shit, that was scary to see. And obviously WrestleMania is 2 weeks away. I swear, Raw women have the worst luck in these backstage brawls. Liv's gotten hurt multiple times. Rhea Ripley separated her shoulder. The JD Clubhouse is an automatic good anyway, but this was particularly sick, and while unintentional, completely appropriate, because this feud has been mega heated. And if you're going to have any feud in which like there's an accidental injury that, fingers crossed, doesn't affect WrestleMania, Stephanie and Liv is the right feud for that to happen. So it came across even better than it already was. They've all been tweeting about it on social media. Liv and Roxy both seem to be suggesting that they're fine. Easy good.
Look, the Stephanie Liv feud is about two things. It is about vignette backstage promos and attacking people from behind. That is what they do
Viciously.
That is what happened on this show.
Yeah.
And this was the worst one yet. There was the one I remember a couple weeks ago with Raquel and Nikki Bella around this, that I wondered if Nikki had gotten hurt on a similar thing. So I don't know. All these attacks from behind, like, the whole point of wrestling is to be able to sell and bump. And if you don't see somebody, that's difficult. So just be careful, guys.
For sure. There was a random teaser of a bunch of people dancing on chairs with their backs to the camera. The focus was on a blonde woman in the middle. Figured at first that it would be for a debut, but upon review, it sounded a bit like Liv's music. So looks like she's getting some type of special entrance, maybe with a celebrity or something like that.
She posted it on Instagram as well. So yeah, she might get some sort of, I don't know, burlesque or dance girl, Britney Spears type of entrance at Mania is what my guess is going to be.
And you know what? Cannot wait to see that. We said Stephanie Vaquer had no chance to lose, or I said at least. In fact, we probably need to discuss this, but I said Stephanie Vaquer had no chance to lose her Hey Now championship, given that look that she had recently. Burlesque performance with Liv Morgan at WrestleMania might actually do that.
We don't need to do a whole thing. I was not as high on the Stephanie thing as you. The fully covered, it's just
Dude,
not my gimmick.
That's
it's
not my gimmick
kind of
either, but it was so amazing that it took me out of my gimmick, and it overcame what Liv did, who she beat, the Liv Morgan look with the white top and the jeans, and that's my thing. Very much so. I thought that was never going to get beaten this year. And then something I don't even buy into normally beat it like the next week. It was incredible. Penta, Javon Evans, and Dragon Lee fought Los Americanos. El Grande Americano posted a video on social media over the weekend angry that he did not get a chance to be in the ladder match, considering he's a greater luchador than those competing. Kofi Kingston watched this match backstage in classic fashion. There was some excellent wrestling here, as one would expect. Dragon's Styles Clash on Bravo was a highlight, as was Penta's apron Mexican Destroyer on Rayo, which Javon sold like crazy from a reaction standpoint. He ultimately won with the OG cutter on Bravo. When the match began, I figured El Grande would get the fall over Dragon, inserting him into the match. And with Kofi watching backstage, I thought, well, he might get in also. I was complaining about that last week. I thought they should both be involved. Alas, this was a ton of fun, a nice way to showcase talent in the match. Something else happened in a moment, but this was good.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a ton of these. Just do a wrestling match and have it be fun on the rate of WrestleMania, because we're always in the stories. And instead, this was good. It was fun. I liked it. Good.
Rey Mysterio entered as the faces were celebrating, telling Penta he was excited for the ladder match, which has the potential to be one of the best in history. Rey explained that he's been out of action recently, but he spoke to Pierce, and they agreed that the match was missing one key person, Rey Mysterio. Penta shook his hand and agreed to make history. Again, why is Rusev in this match? I know the answer is that you always need a big guy as a base in a multi-man ladder match, but he's so out of place compared to the rest of the competitors. Remains odd that Kofi and El Grande are not part of this, but 51-year-old Rey Mysterio is going to put his health on the line and his bad knees. But you know what? Better to have him involved than not. Rey at WrestleMania is good, and he missed last year. Missing 2 years in a row would suck. Good as well.
Good, but the second it happened, and this was like not long after the Rollins-Gunther thing, I thought, wait, why are we not doing Gunther-Rey then?
Because you'd have nothing for
maybe
Seth
they
Rollins.
were never.
That's why.
Yeah, I guess, but I was like, maybe, I don't know. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, I forgot about that. In that case, like, I don't know. I guess you want Rey in somewhere. I guess it's his ladder match for a guy who's gotten a lot of
weird.
injuries recently.
Yeah.
I just want him to be okay. Because, yeah, he got hurt right before like the SmackDown or Raw before Mania last year on like a very simple thing.
Yeah.
So
he pulled his
please be safe,
quad or hamstring, getting pulled out of the ring by one of the Creed
yeah,
brothers.
it's just getting pulled out of the ring. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so weird.
So ladder match now. Okay. Be careful.
I Show Speed backstage begged Danhausen to remove his curse, said it's ruining his life. He agreed if Speed gave him his mansion before disappearing when Adam Pearce came through. Pearce told Speed to save himself and go home. And he was going to do that until the Vision approached him, reminding that he's a dead man walking, forcing him to align with them. We had LA Knight against Austin Theory. Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary explained Theory's entire gimmick over the first few minutes of this match, something Theory should have had the chance to do himself at any point over the last couple of months. Insane that it came to them needing to do it during a match this long after he came back. Logan Paul shoved Speed into Knight ringside while the referee was checking on Theory. Knight chased him down the ramp. That brought out the Usos. Knight pulled Speed into the ring, clotheslined Paul off the apron, and then got caught with a tights-aided roll-up. Speed again insisted he was blameless as Jay nearly broke, grabbing him by the shirt. The Vision saved him from 1D. Knight made the challenge for WrestleMania that the whole world expected 7 days ago. Pearce agreed, and he told Speed it was his fault for not going home. I gotta tell you, I'm unironically loving this storyline, primarily because the tag team division has been such utter shit and nothing at all is being wasted putting this 6-man match on at WrestleMania. In fact, it is far more entertaining than it would have been if we just got Usos Vision like we did 2 weeks ago on Raw. As I said last week, Speed is doing perfect work as a WrestleMania celebrity. And when you really think about Speed, Logan, Knight, and Jay all in this match, those are 4 super popular and super over talents. I believe this is going to completely over-deliver next week. I'm glad Theory got a much-needed win, and I'm glad the Usos' shitty theme was a one-week failure that has been tossed in the dustbin of history. Easy good.
Yes, that was a good note on the Usos music. I was disappointed to not get Theory's music for his match.
It's unbelievable.
He came out to Logan's. Theory debuts or re-debuts or whatever.
Great theme.
With this kick-ass new theme.
Yeah.
And we never hear. I've got it on my phone. Like I listen to it when I'm working out. Like, and we never hear it. I want to hear Austin. You guys made a great theme. I want to hear that. Logan's isn't terrible. I've actually come around.
It's
on
fine.
His,
yeah.
But especially for a Theory match, Theory's song is a banger. Let's play that. So everything about this was good. I'm into it. I'm just a little about this whole thing revolving around I Show Speed now. Like he is the main character of the match.
He is, but he's a character
it's a little
though.
Much.
But like he's a character and it's working. You know what I mean? Like I want to hate it, but I just don't. I enjoy it. I find myself smiling when I'm watching it. He's doing a really good job.
Like it's not bad. It's not fully my thing when you have LA Knight and the Usos.
Think about
Logan Paul, who's doing good at this. And we're like, I Showed Speed, like not wanting to be in the match is the story of the match is a little like.
But dude, think about all
it's a celebrity match. It's okay.
Think about all these tentpole matches Logan Paul has had on these pay-per-views or premium live events where we're like, why is this happening? Why is he fighting LA Knight? Why is he doing this? Here, he's working with Jay, who last year again was like, we felt overpushed largely. Theory is getting spotlight on the show. Logan, by the way, is doing great work telling the story with Speed and being the antagonist. It's really working for everyone involved. I find no faults with it. I just don't.
It's good. I'm just a little like on the boat, but it's nitpicking. It's been good. Bailey, I need I Show Speed out there telling me the show sucks. Is what I'm saying.
Bailey and Lyra Valkyria fought Charlexa. Bailey backstage promised to make the other side pay for costing them the chance of walking into WrestleMania as champions. Lyra said their friendship is surface level at best, while they have been tested regularly for a whole year with an aim of making up for what happened at WrestleMania 41. That's what I've been saying. This was their best team promo since the road began. Lyra put in some work in this match. Bailey got the hot tag, got a couple chances, sunset flip powerbomb Charlotte Flair backwards into the turnbuckles for a rope break. Valkyria held Bailey's foot to prevent a superplex before landing a flying elbow drop and tandem flying swinging Samoan drop neck breaker. That was a really nice move. There was a nice counter sequence with Bliss and Valkyria before they landed a pair of natural selections with Alexa pinning Lyra. Irresistible Forces attacked all 4. That was after the bell. They landed their new finisher on Bailey. Bella Twins were nowhere to be found. This is a tough grade. Match was quality in a silo, but this was the best segment the tag team division has produced since Rio were champions. Yet, I'm completely flabbergasted that Creative believed the lone palatable clean finish they would allow in this extended storyline was Bliss hitting a non-finishing move on Valkyria and pinning her. Seriously, Why not have her at least hit the Abigail DDT? Even better, why not have Lyra get a boost by pinning Alexa? That finish really soured me on the match. I'm saying light bad, but it was still the best to this point.
I would say because maybe if you think Lyra's getting the pin at WrestleMania, maybe.
So why not both, dude?
Here. I agree.
She's
I'm
the
just
young
giving
talent.
you a potential reason. Lyra's been taking a lot of pins to a lot of not so great people.
Right.
A lot. So I do worry. I'll give it a light good. It was ultimately like, okay, it's not bad. But if Bayley Lyra is the winner at Mania, which we're assuming, but that's been a thought.
Fingers crossed.
I don't know if they've put enough work into getting everybody behind that.
Well, let's get to Monday night, because that was SmackDown on Friday, okay? Yes. Monday, we had Bayley against Legend. Charlexa came down once Nia got involved attacking Lyra ringside, excuse me. That's a lot of Nias and Lyras. Lash went for a superplex, but Bayley held herself down to change the momentum of the move, landing a crossbody, and then Lyra held Bayley's foot down for leverage and the win. Nice to get a clean finish. It gave viewers a reason to believe the faces can win the titles at WrestleMania, which absolutely needs to happen. Better than most of these women's tag team segments coming out of a SmackDown, which was better than most as well. Lyra and Bayley also got a commercial break promo, which marked the second straight speaking opportunity that they delivered upon after a rocky start a few weeks ago. Valkyria made sure they had everyone's attention, and Bayley's perspective was that they will do whatever is necessary to win the titles. They're tired of being patient, waiting their turn. It was a really great promo from Bayley, and the crowd was loud for both of them. They bought in. This was good, and I think it repaired the exact issue that you just mentioned.
Well, it would have been nice to get that on full TV.
Of course, but they did get that on Friday, though, to be fair.
That's true. Correction, Lyra held Lash's leg down on the pin.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think which makes sense.
It does.
That's a good way to explain the finish, and I was fine with that happening, considering how often the heels cheat. So it made Lash look good. Bayley gets the win. This was all good.
Kit Wilson backstage complained to The Miz about both of their curses, reviewing everything that's gone wrong in his life, including recently grunting at the gym like he's toxic. That was funny. R-Truth was going over plans for the new Judgment Day Clubhouse with a production manager when Miz interrupted, daring Truth to challenge himself to master, inspire, and zone in. Truth thought he heard a challenge for the titles, so he accepted, and the heels were floored but nevertheless pleased at the happy accident. Priest asked why Truth chose an undeserving team as challengers, so Truth explained that it was no risk because Asuka cursed them, referring to Danhausen. Later backstage, Miz was convinced they were not cursed, considering they got the title match, when Danhausen surprised them, saying he will join them down to the ring to learn how to be Miz. Wilson called him toxic, so Danhausen suggests if he joins them, he can uncurse them and they can win the titles. The first and third segments were great. I legitimately laughed at Truth calling him Asuka. Who is to say Asuka can't curse people, by the way? Have you seen her? The second segment with Priest was extremely rough. He's trying to show personality and character, but it was so scripted and unnatural. If Priest isn't confident on promos, okay, nothing can be done. I'd prefer this guy speak as himself and flub here or there than come off like a canned caricature. 2 outweighs 1, so this does get it good. I liked how they clarified the title match was undeserved, even though Priest and Truth obviously didn't deserve their opportunity either.
I like this whole thing. I thought all 3 segments were good. I thought Truth saying, "I've never met you a day in my life," almost broke Miz at that point. And Truth and Priest, it was not as good as the week prior, I remember, but Priest was still smiling a bit and trying to explain this. I thought it was, I love the idea. It's a great bit. The idea that Truth put the titles on the line for them because he misunderstood something is yeah, that makes a lot of sense for both of them. And I'm all in on Danhausen, by the way. I am finding everything he does.
I want to say, let's pause on that, because
there's more Danhausen. We'll get to that.
If we want to be all in on Danhausen, let's say that in a second, because there is a there's a WWE Tag Team Championship match, Priest and Truth defending against Miz and Wilson.
Well, hold on. One other thing I want to say
is
in this segment, I felt like I don't think Kit Wilson needs the Miz. I think Kit was kind of more over and interesting by himself.
Yeah, but it's enhancement is really what it is, and it's putting people together.
Don't drag too long because Miz sidekicks often don't work out.
That's fair. I agree. So the match I just mentioned for the titles, when Priest and Miz clotheslined one another, Danhausen entered with Wade Barrett saying he was marching to the ring like a demented Obafemi. Great line. He jumped on the ring apron asking for a tag, which the referee and Miz refused. So Danhausen grabbed the tag rope thinking that would change something. Truth sees him, tags him in to a huge pop. Miz screamed at him again, so Danhausen cursed him, except the referee was thrown in the way and took the curse. Miz hit Danhausen, or he had him, set for skull-crushing finale, but the lights went off and Danhausen scurried off. Miz then hit Truth with skull-crushing finale, but when the referee went to count 3, he threw out his shoulder, per the curse. Miz went nuts. Priest took advantage of South of Heaven. The referee then counted 1, 2, 3 with his left good arm. Of course, this was the same referee who screwed McIntyre, so it's hard to say he didn't deserve the curse. Would have been nice to see Drew laugh backstage at this dude's misfortune or something, just to bring the whole thing full circle. The serious wrestling fan and critic part of me wants so badly to complain about the new champions looking so weak they effectively lost the titles if not for a curse, a 3 count not being made, etc. But the wrestling is supposed to be fun part of me was smiling ear to ear from the curse onward. Dan Engler did an incredible job selling it, the shoulder. It was one of the best usages of Danhausen yet, though let's please keep him away from interfering in title matches involving more legitimate champions. Fun time had by all. WWE is kind of knocking the Danhausen thing out of the park. I'd say 85% of the segments are hitting. This was very good.
It was good. Like I said, I am just kind of all in on the Danhausen stuff. It's popping up on my TikTok. He did a thing on the WWE YouTube page where he went to WWE headquarters and walked around for a bit. It's really funny. He's just got great comedic timing on things. And yes, not too much championship type of stuff. And this is one of the few times they actually had him out in front of the crowd involved in a thing. He's normally always backstage.
Right.
So the debut at Elimination Chamber was weird, but they're leaning into and letting him do what he's best at. And it's been really funny. I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
The debut was the low point. A fair argument is that so far this was the high point. I don't necessarily believe it was, but it was pretty high up there. Also, Danhausen lifted the curse with a pat on the back to the referee backstage during a social media segment. So Dan Engler is now totally fine. Matt Cardona fought Aleister Black. Cardona in the training room swore he was fine to compete when Black and Zelina interrupted, saying Sami Zayn and Randy Orton are headed in the right direction, while it's clear Matt is fighting it to his own detriment. That led to a challenge. Cardona hit a double underhook falling powerbomb that was so close to a Pearl River plunge, it hurt my heart they didn't go all the way with it. Black won clean with Black Mass. When I say Black carried this match, I don't mean Cardona struggled wrestling. What I mean is that Aleister's work was the only interesting part of it. It probably should have finished sooner given Cardona's braced arm. Bit crazy he went that long and then wrestled again after last week. In fact, due to the commercial break, they wanted to put some wrestling on the back end, which is probably why it went longer. It shouldn't have. Light good. I did not need this on SmackDown.
Yeah, light good. It doesn't really feel tied to Mania, so it's just kind of there. But the right guy won in the right way. That's all good. I want to throw a Hey Now nomination out there for Zelina Vega here.
Really? I mean, that came out of nowhere, was unexpected, and worse off, because Silver King was not prepared for it, unscripted as well.
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
You know what that means? The Hey Now Championship is on the line. Stephanie Vaquer's low-cut Catwoman suit against Zelina Vega from SmackDown on Friday night. I'm happy to contest it, but for me, it's not even a question. Vaquer flies through this and remains champion. What about you?
I would go with Zelina Vega here for the reasons I mentioned before about Stephanie, but we need to be on the same page, and we are not.
We are not even close to on the same page. There may be a situation where you can turn me. I think you did a couple months back when this first debuted, but Silver King is going to be 10 toes down on this award going forward. I am going to believe in everything I say about the Hey Now Championship. And still, Hey Now champion Stephanie Vaquer. Solo Sikoa with MFT said he was challenged for the lantern and needs someone to step up and defend it. Tama Tonga confronted him over it, wondering why they are even bothering with the lantern when it has caused nothing but problems, especially for Sikoa. Solo then obviously told him, well, okay, you fight Uncle Howdy. Tama agreed, wanting to go alone, but Sikoa warned him not to screw everything up. So that match followed. Seconds after the break ended, Howdy put Tonga in a mandible claw. As he was about to get knocked out, Sikoa came out with the lantern to taunt, and Howdy broke the hold. Tama screamed at Solo for coming down to the ring, getting caught with Sister Abigail. Tama continued yelling at him after the bell, taking the loss, grabbed the lantern, and did a brief tug of war until he finally convinced Solo to trust him that he doesn't need it. Sikoa let go, and Tonga put it on the ring apron so Howdy could regain it, even as Solo was conflicted about the situation. I'm of a few minds about this. 1, thank heavens this is finally over, or so I thought. 2, using the lantern to enhance the personal dynamics of MFT and the relationship between Tama and Solo, it was pretty interesting. The lantern being a corrupting influence that has not worked out for them, and having Tama tell Solo to give it back like he was bullying a weird kid by holding it. It was kind of funny. But 3, what an insanely weak way to presumably end a feud without a big, babyface moment of regaining their prized possession through competition. Howdy looks incredibly weak, not being able to regain his lantern on his own merits. I said this months ago, but either the 4-on-4 match or Sikoa Howdy should have been the end of this feud. That it continued going forward was absurd. Furthermore, this match was short, slow, plodding, and a pain to watch. Even seeing the action during the break didn't help. So while I'm not 100% negative on this by any means, I'm actually curious where the story goes from here. I certainly cannot grade this anything other than bad.
This is 100% a good. They've got the lantern. We're done with that. That's a good in my book. I don't care about the rest.
You thought so? Tama later verbalized to Solo that the lantern was tearing them apart and they needed to get back to business of tearing apart SmackDown and claiming all the titles. Sikoa agreed as long as they finished the Wyatt 6 first, but as he turned his back, he looked over his shoulder at Tonga. So it's not over. And Solo will be back around the ring with the lantern and an opportunity to steal it back. Might lose my mind if that happens. The booking in my head was to do a 4-on-4 elimination match on the go-home SmackDown before WrestleMania. If they do it, it offers a sense of finality to it all. I am staying with bad. Maybe it ends 2 weeks from Friday.
It feels like we're just going to maybe have the MFT breakups where Solo's going to turn on Tama or something. Like, Tama making the point, like, we don't need the stupid lantern. Let's go get the gold. Like, I was like, yeah, 100%. That's what he's making total complete sense. Solo's reasoning, like, doesn't even to continue. I don't know. I'm hoping one more match, like you said, to fully blow it off, and then we can be done with that. And maybe as an MFT breakup or something. I'll give that part a bad, I guess, because it said that they're not quite done.
Real quick on the way out of here, the show's gone over 2 hours and we both have tons of stuff to do. We will commiserate again on Thursday and cover everything else in WWE, take your questions and comments, all that stuff I talked about. But WWE did announce the WrestleMania 42 card, so we should just quickly break down what matches on each night and what is remaining. So Saturday, night 1, there are 7 matches, including 3 women's matches. WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes against Randy Orton with Pat McAfee. Women's World Championship, Stephanie Vaquer against Liv Morgan. Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in the unsanctioned match. Intercontinental Championship, AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. Seth Rollins versus Gunther. The women's tag team title fatal 4-way match, Irresistible Forces. Charlexa, the Bella Twins, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. LA Knight and the Usos against IShow Speed and The Vision. Then Sunday night 2, there are 6 matches and 1 women's match announced. World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk defending against Roman Reigns. WWE Championship, Jade Cargill defending against Rhea Ripley. Obafemi against Brock Lesnar, which will be in hour 1. Intercontinental Championship, Penta against Javon Evans, Dragon Lee, Rusev, JD McDonough, and Rey Mysterio in a ladder match that will also be hour 1 on ESPN. Finn Balor as the Demon against Dominic Mysterio. In the United States Championship, Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams. The first thing I will say is these cards are quite even, because there's some disappointment on kind of both of them. Little bit more on night 2, but the highs, you're getting CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. Also, the ladder match, they seem to make up for the lows of Sami Zayn, Trick Williams, and Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley. But 6 matches on night 2, Chris, it leaves space for 1 more. And considering the women's disparity across both cards, it stands to reason women will fill that space. So the 2 options are Io Sky and Asuka, which is a WrestleMania match in every sense of the definition, or Julia against Tiffany Stratton and possibly Chelsea Green, which is not a WrestleMania match by any definition, considering Julia and Tiffany are struggling, and it pales compared to Io Asuka. I have a terrible feeling about this still, and I won't believe Io and Asuka are on the card until I see it, especially since Raw happened. They announced the card, and SmackDown is the show to come Friday before the go-homes. I said that already. No matter which is chosen, though, for the women, others are going to be left off this card. Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, Aleister Black, El Grande Americano, Shinsuke Nakamura, Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, Damian Priest and R-Truth, The Miz, Kit Wilson, Danhausen, just to name a few. You're not going to get everyone on WrestleMania. I'm okay with some of those names not being on the show.
I'm okay with most of them.
The problem is I'm not okay with some of them not being on the show, and others, no offense to them, like Rusev and JD McDonough being on the show. I understand they're Raw superstars. A lot of the people we just mentioned are SmackDown superstars. It's different, but that's my feeling. And one more thing I'll say, then I'll let you get in with your take on the card and the separation and all that. With 13 matches announced, there are 0 triple threats. Those were the 2 best matches at 41. There are only 2 stipulation matches. There should be at least 3 or 4. Hopefully a 5th women's match gets announced. As I said, that would be great. Despite my other concerns, I have no real issues in terms of the potential match quality that we are going to get. This card is absolutely effing stacked, especially if Io and Asuka get added. It's probably going to over-deliver as a WrestleMania from the match quality standpoint. The question is whether it's going to get there from a storyline standpoint.
My only thought is, like you said, 2 stipulation matches. You have the unsanctioned match and you have the ladder match. I'm surprised there's not more. Because other than the ladder match on night 2, six matches, 1 ladder match, then 5 singles matches.
Huge problem.
Unless you throw Carmelo Hayes in there to make one of them a triple threat. So that is a possibility. That's as I look at the card, that's really my only thought. It's that there's just a whole lot of singles matches, especially on the second night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm counting 8. 8 of the 13 are just straight up regular. No, 9 of the 13 are just straight up normal singles matches. So,
by the way, a headline just came across my my page as we were cutting this show. Ari Emanuel has inadvertently entered the main event of WrestleMania 42 by way of Pat McAfee, written by The Hollywood Reporter. I don't have time to read it now. We don't have time to discuss it now. If there is something in this story for us to talk about, again, we will do it on Thursday. We will try to open that show with the WWE Roundup. Then, of course, Silver King will talk everything across NXT and AEW in the week, so you're not going to want to miss that on Thursday. Dude, I am straight up tuckered out, and I never feel that way coming out of the show. I mean, occasionally when I'm traveling, but oh my God, that first hour and everything having to do with, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton and Pat McAfee and Shelley Roll and Stephanie McMahon and Matt Cardona and CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Vince McMahon somehow. It was absolutely crazy. I can't believe that's the same episode where we're talking about Danhausen cursing referee Dan Engler. I mean, this is, talk about an A to B show. Absolutely nuts. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we were able to commiserate and break down the entire week in WWE, even if it got released a little later than usual. Stick with us on social media at Getting Overcast and in our Slack channel for further updates in terms of show scheduling. And like I said, we're going to take all your questions and comments. We will add them to that show on Thursday. Don't forget to follow us all across the board at Getting Overcast, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube. I already told you why earlier. Please remember, here at Getting Over,
It's all about Defy.
Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave 5-star ratings on Apple. If you leave that 5-star written review, we will read your review live right here on the show. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but man, if you appreciate the performance-enhancing audio that we just delivered into your ear holes, then please remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Over head. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up, you'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, exclusive news analysis posts every week. We appreciate all of you listening. Silver King is tired. Vintage is tired. We'll be back on Thursday talking WWE, NXT, and AEW for Vintage Chris Vanini. This is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.